All right, hello you guys. Let me know if the stream is lagging. I was like pulling it up. It like I don't know. My dashboard looks weird. It looks like it's stuttering. I don't know. I don't know if it changed if it goes back to me. Anyways, hi Nama, hi Shemjem, and hi JJ. Happy Black History Month. Thank you guys for pulling up. I'm excited to get into today's stream. Today's live discussion is actually going to be more true to a discussion. So yeah, I'll get into a little bit more about what we're going to do today. But yeah, thank you guys for being here. Okay, let me just make sure. Let's put that there right here. Okay. Shemjem says, you look normal, no lag. Okay, that's good. For some reason, like when I was looking back, my like animation screen was like stuttering. So I was hoping that it wasn't an issue with like my connection or the stream. But yes, it says excellent connection. Okay. It's fine, love the curls. Oh, thank you. I just washed it today. I just washed, you know, the fresh curls. But actually I'm going to the hairdresser on Tuesday. This is kind of like, this is kind of like, I kind of thinking about at the hairdresser on Tuesday, I'm thinking about getting a silk press, which may not seem like a big deal, but I haven't had straight hair. I haven't had my hair pressed in like 5 years, 6 years. I haven't like decided for sure or not, but that's what I'm thinking. I don't know. And hi, Rograine Storms. It's been a minute. Hello, welcome back. Welcome to the stream. How are you doing? Happy Black History Month. Yeah, we will get started here shortly. Oh my goodness. Y'all, it has been so long since I've streamed last. I did want to say, for those of you who did watch my Kwanzaa Unwrapped series, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciated it. I basically took January off after working on that series. But if anybody new here is coming in and you haven't seen the original or my series that I did over in December, basically I had 8 guests. I alternated between doing like panel discussions and activities, all centered around kind of highlighting Black educators, creators, and entrepreneurs who I think are taking up space in fields, hobbies, professions that may not have the most Black representation. So if this type of topic is in your interest, definitely check out Kwanzaa Unwrapped. I actually went ahead and made a podcast version. Let me take y'all over here. Yeah, y'all can see that. Oh, look, this, I'm trying something new, y'all. When we watch the video, I'm gonna be in the corner here. But I actually made Kwanzaa Unwrapped a podcast. So if you do want to watch just the panel discussions, they are in a podcast here on YouTube. So yeah, y'all can enjoy that. But then of course, if you want to see the full thing, oh, whoops, all the videos are here. So
I'm finally revealing the project I've been dedicated.
My God, shut up. All right. So yeah, anyways, wanted to do that little announcement before we got in. And hello, Cosmic Gold, how are you? Welcome in. Hi, Blaze Man. Rograine Storm says, I'm good, how are you doing? I finally caught a live stream. Yes, it's great to see you. I'll recognize y'all's names. If y'all have been in streams before, I recognize y'all's names. Oh, whoops. Oh my goodness. Okay, I completely just got out of what I was trying to find, what I was trying to do. Okay, I think I'm good. I think I'm pretty much good. Oh, before we get into it, I want to show you guys, look at my shirt. So apparently Kohl's, they have a Black History Month collection. I know a bunch of these corporations, you know, like doing Black History Month stuff, you know, there's a conversation about, is this performative? Is this virtual signaling? Regardless, they have, I was at Kohl's and they have Black History Month t-shirts, and look at this shirt, y'all. It's so cool. So you got like the do-rag, the do-rag, the braids, the pick, hold on, I'm like doing this reverse. The pick, and then the hair with the clips, and I thought this was so cool. And they had a few different designs. I bought 2 shirts, but I thought I would wear one of them today. I'm not sure Cole is a part of like, you know, the stuff that's happening with DEI and stuff right now and the boycotts, but I thought those were fun. But yeah, that being said, okay, I think I've kind of gathered myself and I think we're good to kind of explain what we're here, or what we're going to get into today. All right. So as you can tell by the title, we are doing a live discussion based on a video essay I uploaded in 2021. Let me know in the comments if any of you guys were a subscriber or around when this video originally came out. But we're doing I made a video essay around that time about this idea of Black nerds and kind of this concept or phenomenon of people kind of feeling like we're not Black enough, or other people prescribing that onto Black people who may have more nerdy or, as I put in the title, like quirky interests. Like if you don't fit into the stereotype of what society and mainstream culture seems as, you know, the standard for Black culture. I kind of wanted to just have this video essay to kind of break down that whole this whole topic, this whole idea. And so, like I said at the beginning, today's live stream or today's discussion is going to be more true to a discussion, if that makes sense. I've done a couple other live discussions for some of my previous video essays. This is just something new I decided to try in 2024. And so, yeah, I'm kind of continuing that trend. But my other two live discussions were honestly more like their own presentations / essays. But for the one that we're doing today, I'm literally going to be reacting. Like, I'm just going to be watching the video and pausing, adding any like updated perspectives. The kind of purpose of this is for me to not only give like my more, not just updated perspective, but kind of just to talk about my perception of the essay now, what topics I feel like still, what maybe like relating it to some modern conversations, but also this is for y'all to kind of like share your experiences, your stories, or yeah, just anything that kind of comes up for y'all as we're watching the discussion. So as watching the video. So it's kind of meant to be like a way to kind of just revisit an old essay and just continue the conversation, I guess, in a way. The shirt is cool. Thank you. JJ says nice. Yes, I thought it was really cool. They had some nice t-shirts, so yeah. But yeah, so that's basically what we're going to be doing today. I could probably actually turn off the music now that we're here. I'll turn off this music. Dun, 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 dun. All right, so as you guys can tell by the title of today's video, we are going to be talking about this idea of being told that you're not Black enough. So like I said, I feel like my original video kind of focuses on the Black nerd character, but then also I feel like the same topic can apply to many different people, even if I feel like the same topic can apply just for anyone who feels like they don't fit into the stereotype of Blackness. And so I have a picture of an Oreo here, because, you know, that's a common phrase, being called an Oreo, being Black on the outside, white on the inside. But I also, when I remember doing the original research for this essay, I also heard some people from, I believe it was the UK or other countries, also use the term coconut, like being brown on the inside, or brown on the outside, white on the inside. And so that's what this essay basically kind of covered. So yeah, this is the essay we are going to be reacting to. But before we get into it, I did go through the archives because this essay is, let me see, when I went back and I looked at it, my essay was actually written in February 2021, which would be 4 years ago. So yeah, it was written 4 years ago. So I went back into my original script and I actually found like my ideas of kind of how this essay came to be. So I thought it'd be interesting to provide a little bit of background on that. So yeah, my original script, my original idea was to kind of talk about, I was trying to I want to talk about something related to like racism in gaming, because around that time I'd also made a video essay called like "You're Not a Real Gamer," and I talked about some of the various some of like the various factors that maybe prevent some people from kind of claiming the term gamer, some of the stereotypes, the social norms, and things like that. And so I wanted to do something specifically honing in on the Black experience. As you can see here, I wrote down some questions of potential video essays. So I said, why are Black people so invisible in the gaming space, despite being one of the largest demographic of consumers in the industry? And then I put some of like my initial thoughts. So this is before I did any research. These are just some ideas I was throwing out there. So I said lack of Black people in the industry at a high level, not much exposure, access to game development, the game development industry at a young age. Black kids might think it's out of reach for them. Nerdiness conflicts with Blackness, so social pressure from other Black people. And then I also wrote down gaming consumers or audiences not looking for Black creators or thinking they can't relate to them. So these are just some like ideas I was just kind of throwing out there. And as you can see, I ended up highlighting the topics that I felt like were most interesting to me to narrow down. And then this is the other part of the list of other questions I had about, you know, why is gaming so white? And so, I asked, like, why is it so normalized and expected to be called the N-word by boys on the internet? I was kind of more thinking about, like, you know, like those stereotypes, those first-person shooter games or MMOs or things like that. Why do these games with racist and toxic cultures have little to no consequences for these cowards hiding behind screens? And this is actually a point I ended up making in the "You're Not a Real Gamer" video essay, so some of these points might be familiar to y'all. I asked, what does it mean to be Black in gaming? What does it mean to never see yourself? What are the social pressures of being Black or being a nerd and Black? Are there any? Bring up, you know, the blurred identity, things like blurred con, and then Black nerds throughout history. So as you can see, the parts that I highlighted ended up being kind of like the topics I ended up focusing on. So the video ended up being not really about gaming that much, which honestly, I do like, because I think it's important to show that these kind of topics can relate far beyond just the gaming industry. I think sometimes when you niche something down too much, people think like that it's not a topic they can't relate to. When I think a lot of like when it comes to like social pressures and social issues, honestly have a lot of like overlap and what's the word? There's a lot of like ways that you can relate that to your own life, even if you don't necessarily consider yourself a gamer, if that makes sense. So that's kind of like the idea I had, or the ideas that I had, and kind of how that evolved into what the essay eventually turned into, which was about an exploration of Black nerds, which went far beyond just gaming. Rogue says, OMG throwback. Yes. I'm not sure if I was a subby around that time, but I have seen those videos. Okay. JJ says, I remember watching, but I don't remember if I commented. Yeah, so this video is actually, I think I'll talk about like at the end of the live after we finish watching. I think I'll talk about more of the continued impact of that essay. And honestly, like this not Black enough essay has honestly been, this is one of my most watched videos, or this is my most watched video outside of sim stuff. So I thought that was interesting as well. But I'll talk more about the impact at the end. Some behind the scenes, and since it's been, you know, 4 years, we're coming up on 4 years since I posted this, I thought I would share a little bit about like what it kind of took to make this video. Let me see, this little background behind the scenes of my set. I have some notes here, let me pull these up. Oh wait, maybe I don't have notes. Okay, never mind. Anyways, but here's a little bit of a look of like my set. I was trying to like, this is my 5th or 6th video essay, something like that. So I was trying to, you know, get that more professional look. I bought a boom pole, as you can see, or, hello, can you go back? I bought a boom pole for my mic, so as you can see, I was trying to like experiment with like different mic setups. I set this up in my garage. So we was, you know, slowly upgrading the quality and stuff. And I remember this being like, I I don't know, like the production process of this essay, I think, has definitely influenced some of my following video essays after that as well. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, I talked about the video inspiration. I talked about the background. This is the behind the scenes. I think we're good to watch. Do I have anything else here? Yeah, okay, we're good to watch. Okay. Let's go ahead and pull up this video. You're not black enough. Okay. And I'm gonna go, hold on. Oh, I wanna go here. And then, are we in theater mode? Yes, we're in theater mode. Okay. All right. I think, yes, let's go ahead and get started.
I think a lot of black people can relate to the idea of not feeling black enough. I feel like I've always kind of struggled with the idea of identity growing up and just trying to figure out where I fit in as a black person. And although I seem very like passionate and proud and racial justice warrior now, this is honestly very new to me to kind of embrace all of my identity. And being okay with feeling like I don't really fit into the constructs of blackness.
A lot of weird people who think that there's only one way.
Come through cinematography.
White audiences didn't quite understand me, but black audiences especially didn't understand me. I'm a big nerd who likes sci-fi and video games.
Little did I know that finding enjoyment in these things made me not black enough.
And I feel like it is a lot of people in my race that are perpetuating that idea. It makes you feel really...
This is also random, but I love that Sydney's like mid-bake, you know, but throwback to baking if y'all watch makeup content. But one of the reasons I did include these different clips that you'll see in this beginning montage is kind of like I was saying earlier. I wanted to show that this is an issue, or this is a topic that can apply far beyond just gaming, and so that's why it was important for me to include people who do different things. And I also wanted to extend this just beyond content creators. So yeah, I dug deep into the internet to find these clips and stuff.
really.
But also, let me know if audio's good. Like, can y'all hear the video well?
Rejected.
White people already do this. They already discriminate against us. They already push their stereotypes onto us. So why are we doing it to each other?
Black people, but more specifically, American black people, hold a very specific status in the world.
Because American black people, I mean, you just look at how much they've done to influence modern day pop culture. This general swag that they've brought to everything.
People just want to participate in whatever black people are talking about or are doing or are pioneering.
You know, I'm cool, plus I'm black, which is cool, so I win twice.
Essentially, we're at the very heart and soul of pop culture, even if we're not always given credit for it. And oftentimes, being black is synonymous with being cool. But this internalized standard of what's expected from the black community can also unintentionally leave many feeling othered or not black enough if they don't feel that they fit into the mold and live up to the standard of being hip and cool by the means of our culture. So today I'm going to explore what it means to be a blurred, a black nerd.
Audio's good? Okay,
or at
that's
the
good.
very least, deconstruct what it means to navigate the world as a black person possessing stereotypically nerdy or quirky traits.
Look at the old intro. Oh my goodness. Who remembers that?
According to Wikipedia, a nerd is a
I did also want to say before we get into it, this shirt that I'm wearing, let me show y'all this. I like to try to like coordinate my outfits based on like what the video is that I'm talking about. I don't always do this, but I do think it's fun. Let me get a better frame.
Blurred, a black nerd. Or at the very least, deconstruct what it means to navigate the world as a black person.
Oh yeah, so you can kind of see. So here, I can't really like zoom in. So this is merch. I don't know if any of you guys follow Belief in Fatherhood. And I think this was the Black Joy collection or something. But yeah, one of Belief's songs, because he produces his own music, is called Black Joy is Magic. And so I felt like that was kind of like the theme, the vibe that I wanted to go into this essay with. So
Yeah, I don't know if anybody peeped that, but yeah. But also, y'all should stream the song Black Joy is Magic by Belief. And possessing stereotypically nerdy or quirky traits. Let me put this faster. According to Wikipedia, a nerd is a person seen as overly intellectual, obsessive, introverted, or lacking social skills. Such a person may spend a lot of time on unpopular, little-known, or non-mainstream activities such as science fiction or fantasy. So a bit of etymology for how this term came to be. Nerd was typically used as a synonym for drip or square in 1951 Detroit, which essentially referred to someone who is very conventional, traditional, and out of touch with mainstream trends. Some oral traditions may have suggested that nerd is a derivative of drunk spelled backwards, which, you know, obviously refers to someone who studies rather than parties, maybe not so obvious, but that is a speculation that I found in my research. A little fun fact, the first time we saw the word nerd documented is in Dr. Seuss's 1950 book, If I Ran the Zoo. This is one of his books that got pulled for, you know, racist imagery, but the word oh my gosh. I remember when this happened, all the racist stuff, or the racist stuff been there, but I do remember when that was first, like, I started seeing that up on my social media feed about, like, a lot of the racism in Dr. Seuss's books. I'm like, yo, dang, like, nothing is exempt from the tomfoolery. Nothing is exempt from the racism, not even the kids' books. Nerd was used here to describe an odd-looking fictional creature, but this wasn't a usage like that we associate now with our understanding of nerds. The term nerd became popular with the rise of the technology industry. This is something like little that maybe I only recognize, but I can definitely see how I've improved my production as well. Like, there's some like little stuff that I've noticed. I mean, I know most people probably wouldn't have noticed certain things, but there's certain like editing techniques or stuff I'm already seeing that like I wouldn't do that today. So it's kind of cool to see, like, or there's a different way I would have done that. So it's kind of interesting to see kind of like my production and how it's evolved. Was I 19 when I made this video? I'm pretty sure, right? Hold on. I'm 23 now, and this was 4 years ago. So yeah, I was 19. That's crazy. I've grown a lot, y'all. But also with the media. In the 1970s sitcom Happy Days, this term was used oftentimes as an insult.
And in typical nerd fashion, the wrong move. What am I gonna do with your funds early, huh?
I will say there are common synonyms to nerd that are often just used interchangeably with it. Things like geek, dork, dweeb. But each of these terms do have unique meanings. And have you heard anybody say dweeb? They're used in different contexts, but what they do have in common is the fact that it's used to describe people who are typically very socially awkward, have weird, non-social, or peculiar interests, and are just overall othered socially. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to be focusing on the nerd term specifically. The idea of what nerdiness is has definitely become a lot more elusive over time. What makes somebody a nerd today is a lot less concrete than it was like several decades ago. We have this person in my comments who says, I think that in the past, nerds were seen as people with certain interests, things like comics, anime, and games. As these have become more loved by more people and become more mainstream, I began to wonder, does this mean the world has become more nerdy? So because of this reason, I decided to break down. I'm curious, like, what is your guys' perspective on that idea? If like nerdy type things like are becoming more mainstream? Has the world become more nerdy? My instinct is no. But I'm interested to hear how you guys interpret that or what that means to you. How does that resonate? And hello, Tim. Welcome on in. This video was a godsend. I'm glad you could resonate. Thank you for, pulling through. But yeah, okay, let me think. So, in the past, nerds were seen as people with certain interests, things like comics, anime, and games. As these have become loved by more people, become mainstream, does this mean the world has become more nerdy? I don't think that resonates with me. I feel like it definitely is true that more kind of like things that maybe have once been associated with nerdy interests are now mainstream. But I do think like a lot of people who enjoy those types of things, I don't think necessarily would consider themselves a nerd, but I feel like that also has evolved with like, I think that also depends on a lot of like social context as well. I don't know. I don't know if that even makes sense, but yeah, I don't think I resonate with that, because I don't think a lot of people that enjoy maybe stereotypically nerdy things would necessarily call themselves a nerd, and we kind of get into that later. Tim says halfway, honestly. What do you mean by that? Loved by more people and become more mainstream, I began to wonder, does this mean the world has become more nerdy? So because of this reason, I decided to break down nerd characteristics into two categories. Number one is the nerd caricature. This is the over-exaggerated, stereotypical definition of a nerd. These are typically the depictions we see in movies and in TV shows and just in the media in general. And then list number two is going to be taking feedback from self-identified nerds and sort of accumulating the similar characteristics they share today. But starting off with the nerd caricature. In the media, nerds are typically shown as being very techie or like computer whizzes. This is mainly due because the term nerd gained popularity when the technology industry was first sort of introduced and was not as commonplace as it is today. It was seen as more elite and only for like really smart people, aka nerds. Nerd characters are typically shown as loving school or really enjoying learning.
And I want to get back to school. I simply crave academic nourishment.
And these characters are typically very... This is kind of unrelated, but what's his name? Who plays Urkel? I feel like it's Jaleel. Jaleel, what is that right? I think that's who he is. He's coming out, or he has a book where he actually talked about his experience as Urkel. Let me see. What's it called? Yeah, it's Jaleel White. I got it wrong. Growing Up Urkel. I haven't actually read the book, but I did see he was on a press tour for that. But I'd be interested in hearing his interpretation as an adult, you know, with like having played a nerd character. He kind of, in the videos that I've seen, like the interviews, he kind of seems to like embrace it. Like he saw it as a positive thing. Yeah. I'd be interested in seeing that. Jaleel White. Okay, yeah. Shemjen says, Black people aren't a monolith, but people want us to be. I've enjoyed stereotypically nerdy things my entire life. I've been around other Black nerds too, and your environment definitely impacts your perception. Yeah, I agree with that. Like your environment, like whether or not the people around you are accepting of those interests or not, or accepting of people who just, you know, express themselves differently. And actually, this is kind of like that reminds me, I remember Jackie Aina did a video. I know she like rarely uploads anymore, but I do remember that she did a video about like, what was it? It was like, why do we shame, like I forget what it was called, but I remember the whole idea was that like, why are we shaming like people, like I think she was specifically talking about like Black people, but like Black women who express, I think it was about style. I think it was a concept of like why does nobody why does everybody like dress alike? Like why is individuality like gone basically on social media? And she made a point, one of her points in her video was like, sometimes like there are people who have different interests. Like just because something is not mainstream does not mean that it is like weird or like you're trying to be white. Like people just have different interests, different tastes, and everybody don't have to be like a clone. So I don't even know if that made sense, but I think that this kind of goes on to the point of like how your environment, your perception impacts your perception. And also like, can we stop like bullying people just because you don't understand like their interests or their taste? Like, I don't think you have to understand somebody's interests to be respectful, you know? I wasn't even seen as strange at school, except for the fact that I liked Taylor Swift back in her country days, and I was told I was Black, so it was weird that I would like teardrops on my guitar. Yeah, that is, I do have a section later on, I forget which part, I think it's my Black culture section. Black American cultural identity. Yeah, so I do talk a little bit about like this idea. We'll get to that. Obviously y'all can see the title. We're talking about not being Black enough. So music is a big one that people like to use of like, why are you listening to that white people ish, you know? While like learning that's a whole white thing. Yeah, and it is like, not to say we'll get to that, no, but that like these examples that you guys are giving are good, so keep them coming. But yeah, definitely like the idea that like being educated is white like we're getting into colonial mindsets here. Like we're getting into, you know, like this perception that to be black is to be less educated. That's not and not only is it not right, but it's very clearly rooted in internalized anti-blackness, you know? I'm from New York City, but I live in the Midwest now, and so does my little sis. She's been told by non-black people and white colleagues that she's an Oreo or not really black because of how she speaks, talks, behaves. Yes, definitely. This whole idea, this whole concept of not being black enough, it's not only other black people saying that, but also like white people would be saying it too. They'd be like, you're the whitest black person I've ever saw. Like, and you're one to talk, hello. Like, so it just kind of goes to show about how our imagery matters. And if we're only seeing black people one type of way, you know, it's sure to have, you know, it's sure to have like an impact, you know, not just on our own community, but how other communities see us as well. It's crazy how society puts black people into a box, and then when someone wakes up once and let's do it to other black people. Speaking of music, my friend literally has a playlist called White People Music, LOL. that is funny. But let me answer your first comment where you said it's crazy how society puts black people in a box, and then black people are like, yeah, let's do that to each other. Yeah, and so that's actually why I liked that one clip I included at the beginning with Madison Brown. I don't know if I can find it. I think it's like right here in the intro. Okay, maybe mark my spot. I'm at 5:45.
Idea. It makes you feel really, really rejected.
White people already do this. They already discriminate against us. They already push their stereotypes onto us. So why are we doing it to each other?
Black people. Yeah, so that right there, that was definitely powerful. All right, here we are. Oh, look, I can see where people have replayed the most. Oh, like this part is the most replayed. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, sorry. My videos don't be getting as many views, so I actually can see like the analytics and stuff. Or I can see like what people were resonating with most, so that's kind of interesting. Okay, let me go head back to 5:45. Oh, but I wanted to get to your other question about, or not question, but your other comment about like white people music. Because I think I saw a Kev on Stage video where he was doing like promo for his a show that he's filming. If you don't know, Kev on Stage, he's a comedian and a content creator. But as part of his promo for his new show, he's been like asking his cast different like questions, and his demographic is mostly like black people. So I remember one of the questions he asked was, let me see if I can find it. It was like, what's your favorite white people song? So it'd be showing that even people that like even like wouldn't necessarily consider themselves an Oreo, like probably are interested in what we consider white people stuff, you know? Okay, hold on, let me see. Is it on YouTube or is it? Because he posts a lot of stuff, so I can't be finding his post that easily. Okay, let me see. Favorite white people song. Oh yeah, we're not gonna watch this whole thing, but here. I found it. Let's go back over here. It's like a short.
Nick, what is your favorite white people song? Oh, I wish you would step back from that ledge, my friend.
Not the
we could
karaoke.
cut ties from all the life that you've
He in character.
And if you do not want to see me again, I would give you up.
Oh,
what I'm thinking of.
And also not them in costume, which makes this funnier. They're in costume, not the never gonna give you up.
Is what I'm thinking of. And I don't want it.
And so
never gonna give you up. Never.
Okay, let me go back to your messages. It's very insulting and anti-black to say if I'm learned and articulate, I'm white. I didn't grow up around many white people. I consider myself extremely lucky as a result. Oh, okay, wait. So it's very interesting how anti-black to say that if I'm learned and articulate. I'm white. I didn't grow up around many white people. Okay, so I got it. So you grew up around mostly black people, but or okay, maybe I'll say it like this. I think the assumption is that if you talk a certain way, or if you are educated, or XYZ, there's an assumption that, oh, you must have grown up around white people, so you've had that experience while still growing up around black people. Okay. And you said you're from New York City, so that does make sense. That does make more sense. But yeah. I definitely I think there's also like an importance to, let me think. Like I think another kind of topic on top of that is this idea of like, I think people don't always think about the structural systems that are set in place that make it so. Why does it seem like, why do people have the impression that in order to be articulate, or quote unquote articulate, I don't like, we'll get into, that as well. Cause yeah, saying that there's a lot of implications there too, but why to have those experiences, people feel like they have to go to the white neighborhoods, if that makes sense? Like, I think there's also structural and more, I can't think of the word, but we need to zoom out a little bit more and be thinking about, what is the infrastructure that is making this culture a reality? And hey, T-Hawk, welcome on in. Honestly, black culture things is very important because black people in the US are very different from black people everywhere else. Yes, and so there's another section of this video where we talked particularly about black American culture, and I, hit on some of those main points, and I do emphasize that there is a difference of black American culture versus like even like black British culture, or if you grew up, I'm actually curious about like what it's like growing up even like as a black person in Canada. Like, I don't imagine it's super different from the US, but I'm interested in even hearing like different like regional experiences. That's actually something that's a goal of mine, is to learn more about black history, not just in the US, but outside of the US. I do think it's important to learn black history in the US because obviously we are not taught very well. That's why we are still in these situations, but yeah. I do think, yeah, that is a good point to bring up. Black culture is different regionally as well. Let me see. I didn't go through the song and dance trying to prove myself to white people or being constantly made to feel inferior. Yes, good for you, Shem Jem. Growing up, JJ says, growing up from New York City to the suburbs. Now we got two New York natives in the house. Okay. It was a culture shock. But one thing I remember being told by my English teacher, that I speak so articulate and proper for a black girl. Oh, not the insults. Can I ask, is this a white teacher? Or is it a black teacher? Or another race? Don't be like your other black classmates, so disgusting. Yeah, you're one of the good blacks, quote unquote, And, I don't want to keep saying like this video talks about that too, but for real, this video it does kind of touch on all of these like nuances of like the implications of like having seemingly some adjacency to whiteness. It was a white teacher, yeah. They be trying it. I grew up around like I grew up like when I say where, like the area that I grew up in, I would say it is multicolored, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's multicultural, like there is still a very, whiteness standard, if that makes sense. And I think that definitely shapes like my school experiences and things like that. And also I think I would have definitely loved to have more, to have had some experience in childhood growing up in a predominantly black space, or a space where black people were the majority, because that just was not my experience. And part of that reason is why I am very passionate about the things that I do and the work that I do. A lot of that has influenced, like, where I came from has influenced why this is important to me. But yeah, it does kind of suck to be like the only person in my family that all of a sudden my parents got married and decided to move out here. Like, every single one of y'all got to live around, have either a season or a place in your life where you grew up around all black people. Like, my mom, for example, grew up in black neighborhood, went to basically all black, mostly black school, attended an HBCU. I'm like, y'all, that could be another conversation. Should black kids, should y'all leave the black neighborhood for the better opportunities, quote unquote? And that kind of goes into my infrastructure conversation earlier. Why is it that the white neighborhoods are all of a sudden the places that have the better opportunities? So I definitely would have benefited as a kid having more exposure to spaces where it's mostly black, and that's kind of like something I'm working towards in my adult life. Also, I want to also make sure I'm not like trying to like shit on my parents, but the whole I bring that up to just kind of talk about just this what is it, like obviously my parent, I want to say parents, for the most part, there are exceptions, for the most part, they're doing the best they can with the information they have. And so I'm not trying to say, like, you know, they should have known better. But I do think it's something important to reflect on. You know? No, the black neighborhood should be granted the great opportunities too. Yes. So that's exactly my point. Definitely agree. Like, there is, what is it? There's problems systemically of why people feel like they have to leave the black neighborhoods to get the good opportunities, you know? 3 New York natives. Hey, Yams, welcome on in. Tim, you're from Miami. Okay. I studied Black Studies in college, and if I ever went for a doctorate or something, it would have been in that, because I love us. Yes, I'm definitely. So I didn't finish college. But if I ever go back, which I'm not sure if I'm going to go back, because the state of education and student loans in this country, I'm not even sure if it's worth it. But I would definitely do, if I were to go back, it has to be something in social sciences, Black American studies, things like that. Oh, Tim, gonna go back, grab a soda. Oh, you sent that a while ago. I see you're back now. But it's different than feeling like I have to conform to white beauty standards, for example. Wait, what were we talking about? Hold on. I didn't go through the song and dance of trying to prove myself to white people or being constantly made fun of, made to feel inferior, but it's different than feeling like I have to conform to white beauty standards. Okay, I think what you're saying, I think I know what you're saying, yeah. And we've talked a little bit about that too on the channel of, like, you know, the importance and also the history of, you know, having not just diverse representation, but, like, whiteness is not the standard, you know? Yeah. You can always go back. I'm in my last semester finishing up. Yeah. I know it's, like, possible, but, you know, I don't want to get, I can get really heated talking about the educational system and my problems with it. And yeah, I'm not going to get too in details of, like, why I left and stuff. But, yeah, it's never too late to do something if you really want to do it. That's the key. You can't be getting degrees for other people if you actually don't want to be there. But all right, let's go ahead and thank you guys for talking to me. This is the point. I want this to be a conversation, like a back and forth. But yes, I do want to get more into this so we can even pause and talk more about some of the stuff we have already kind of addressed here. JJ says I went to Hillman, lol. No, that's the is that the African American Studies teacher on TikTok who went viral for, like, so for context, for anybody who doesn't know, there's this African American studies teacher. I forget at what school. I don't even remember what school, but the idea is that like she went on TikTok. I don't know like what the context was. So she was trying to send like a video link to her students. If it was supposed to be like her students, like a student TikTok. But then this video of her basically like going through like the syllabus, like just went viral for no reason. And the comments have been really very funny. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what you're talking about. I have a Hillman teacher. Hillman is the HBCU in a different world. Oh, okay. I'm mixing that up. Okay, my bad. But there was a lady earlier, I don't know if it's this week or last week that did go viral for this video she made on TikTok. It's a professor. Anyways, those who get it. But all right, okay, I'm going to continue this. But thank you for correcting me, Shemjem. Think about science, math, engineering, or computer science. Nerd characters are typically enthusiastic and very intellectual about other peculiar topics, such as like sci-fi, comics, anime, manga, Dungeons and Dragons. So therefore, these people might enjoy live-action roleplay, cosplay, or attend nerdy conventions such as Comic-Con. Nerd characters are typically shown as loners, being a bit socially awkward, not really getting social cues. They certainly don't have a lot of friends, not like a girlfriend or boyfriend by any means. And nerd characters are typically shown as being naive and usually get taken advantage of by the protagonist or the more popular character. Nerd characters are shown as being unattractive, wearing very high-waisted pants, thick glasses. They usually dress extremely formally with like, you know, suspenders, maybe a bow tie, and typically nerd characters are shown to have braces. Which this is something I never really got because like, I don't know how braces got associated with nerds because braces just means I'm gonna have straight teeth and you won't. But that's just me though. And probably the overarching characteristics of nerd caricatures is that nerdiness is seen as an inherent character flaw, and nerds are typically shown that they need to be cool or fixed by cool people to be able to be accepted, to have friends, and to just overall enjoy life.
And clumsiness is only part of the problem. You're also annoying and socially inept. Steve, it would be nice if you tried to change. Steve?
No. There is no Steve here. I'm Stefan, sweet thing.
So, in essence, there is a strong anyways, the Stefan clips always make me laugh. But yeah, thank you guys for filling me in. I got it confused. But what was I about to say? There is definitely, I do think it's interesting how nerd, I think like the core of like, I think what makes black nerds interesting is because of that point of what she said of, hold on, sorry. Sorry, it's kind of the point of like the idea that nerds have to be chained. Like there's like being a nerd is a fundamental character flaw, which kind of goes into what we'll get in later about like why being nerdy and black seem to be incompatible, allegedly, you know. Laura got on my nerves. I'm gonna be honest, I did not speaking of not being black enough, I did not grow up watching a lot of the traditional black sitcoms. Like I watched some of them, some of the times, but I am not, as you can probably tell by missing the Hillman reference, I have heard of the shows, but I haven't actually watched them like that, if that makes sense. So like some of the references I don't always get, you know. But okay, let's continue. Correlation between being smart and being a nerd, and an even stronger inverse correlation between being a nerd. But I did watch a lot of the clips for the sake of this research in this video. And being popular. So what is a nerd? Hold on, in essence, there is a strong correlation between being smart and being a nerd, and an even stronger inverse correlation between being a nerd and being popular. So what is a nerd today? As I said earlier, this term has become a lot more elusive as more nerdy things have become mainstream. As we can see from this commenter, Jasmine, she says that I've never considered myself to be a nerd. I do, however, enjoy coding, reading, video games, and other nerdy activities. I was also a biomedical science major. I think I'm cool AF. period. So yes, this is an example of people who possess nerdy qualities but don't necessarily associate with that nerd terminology. So I went to my comments, I asked you guys if you consider yourself a nerd, and if so, what factors make you identify as such. I've accumulated all of like the similar factors that y'all self-identified nerds had, and I came up with this list. So according to my comment, what streaming services are they on, ShemGem? I probably could Google it, but yes. I know Living Single. I'm pretty sure I heard that Living Single came out a year before Friends did. And so some people would be like, it's like some people, if they grew up watching Friends, they'll be like, have y'all heard of Living Single? It's a lot like Friends. I'm like, oh, I'm pretty sure they did it first. But yeah, let me know what streaming services they're on if you know. And self-identified nerds are typically kind of socially awkward or maybe kind of shy or introverted. Self-identified nerds express their interest in more alternative genres of media or entertainment. This is what we're talking about before. Perceived to have very niche communities. So things like anime, manga, indie music, comics, things like that. Self-identified nerds in my comments also mention that they are interested in sci-fi or fantasy, things like Star Trek, Star Wars, and the MCU, for example. Nerds today may cosplay or attend like the nerdy conventions I mentioned before, such as Comic-Con or PAX, E3, those types of conventions. People who consider themselves nerds in my comments also said that they were pretty book smart, or they were good in school or enjoyed learning. And there was a common thread of people saying that they enjoy subjects such as STEM, history, and literature. But more than anything, the overarching theme that I found is that nerds have a plethora of knowledge and a lot of enthusiasm about any one particular topic. Somebody in my comments says that for me, okay, let me catch up on chat. A Different World is so good. Living Single is now on Hulu. Used to be on Max. Okay, I do have Hulu. It did, and it ripped off Living Single. Friends is based off of Living Single. Yeah, okay. So I did hear about that. Like Living Single literally came first, and then Friends, of course, with like the white group, you know, living in New York City. They're of course the ones that got the millions of the most recognition, you know? There's actually a video essay I watched not too long ago about like, why don't non-black people like watch black movies, quote unquote. And there's a whole conversation of like, should these things really just be determined black movies? But that kind of relates to this conversation of like, why people having heard of Friends but never heard of the one that came before, you know? But you know, we know that they'd be appropriating off of us. Hold on, wait. Y'all say, wait. Living Single is on Hulu. Hold on, sorry. No, I mean, I thought A Different World is on Netflix? I thought A Different World was on Hulu. Shemjen says Living Single is better than Friends. I don't care. And I watched both. I haven't watched either, so I don't have an opinion on that. Didn't watch A Different World until I was in college. My friend sat me down and made me watch it. Okay, well, since it's now on streaming services, I can try it. I will say I'm not gonna say never, but I don't be watching a lot of traditional like I don't be watching a lot of like streaming services. Like, no, I don't want to say like I don't watch streaming services. I don't watch TV shows very frequently unless I'm watching it with like other people. To me, it's kind of hard to sit down and watch a TV show by myself. So I'll watch stuff if I'm with other people, but if I'm by myself, I like stuff like reality TV and I do like documentaries and stuff. But yeah, okay, that's good to know that they're on streaming services that I have, so maybe I can catch up. Maybe do like a movie night I don't know if I have enough of a community for that to do like a movie night in Discord. I can be like Black Car Restored movie night. I don't know if I have enough like of a community base to do that, but maybe that could be fun. I wondered the same thing. Black people. Oh my gosh, not. Every time I stream, that I get reminded that I don't drink enough water. This is literally the most I've talked like literally all day. I wonder the same thing. Black people watch everything. Yeah, white people seem to not watch black things, and I'm curious about it too. Is racist eyes. They don't know a lot of classic films and shows. Yeah, like, hold on. Let me see if I can find the video essay. Why don't white people... No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Not the first query says, why don't white men approach black women? No, why don't why don't white people watch black movies? Let me see who did this essay. Right here. Tiffany Bird Harrison. So if y'all want to watch this, I'll put the link here. I hate how YouTube does these like long ass links. Here's the essay. I'm back. What did I miss? Welcome back. What did you leave off on? Well, like what were you doing, or what was the last thing you heard of me? That sounds kind of ominous. What was the last time you heard me? I watched most of the classics as an adult in the last 6 years. If it makes you feel any better. Okay, so I still got time, you know? I think it also, another component of it is like, at least for me, it kind of seems like a lot of people grew up watching these types of shows. And it's like, some of these like classic TV shows like were not airing when I was alive. Or at least if I was alive, like I wasn't of like the age level where I could have understood it, you know? So, and now that things are on streaming services, it gives us an opportunity to go back and watch. Like, I remember when Sister Sister first got put on Netflix, I watched that like whole show, and I really enjoyed it. So, yeah. So I do think there is benefit to not, you know, also having it on streaming. And of course there were like, you know, reruns and you can, you know, buy them on DVD and stuff, but I think streaming just makes stuff like more convenient. I think it's because Black stories in America can be considered a niche since we're the minority. Yeah, so that's kind of like the kind of the idea that this essay was about. But yeah, feel free to check this out if you want to hear more of what she had to say. I thought her essay was pretty interesting. Oh, whoops. I don't want to have too many open tabs. The music subject. Okay, what were we saying about music? I think we're talking about this idea that like I'm trying to think. I think we're talking about this idea like the people that you're around like can affect your, I mean, we said a lot of things. I don't know. But like your perception, like who you're around can influence, I guess, like your perception of your interest, of whether or not you think it's like, whether or not it's seen as acceptable or not. I think that's what we're talking about. I don't know. I'm sorry I can't be more useful. I be having like, you know, streaming amnesia. Like, what did you say a few minutes ago? I have no idea. I've been talking so much, I don't even remember what I said. Moesha too. I think Moesha, I'm pretty sure, is on Hulu as well. A Different World is coming back to Netflix this Friday. Oh, okay. Okay, now they'll come back for the Black History Month. They said, okay, Blacks, we'll do something for y'all. I watched Sister Sister on Disney Channel when I was a kid. Yeah, Sister Sister, I think, is under the network of like ABC, which is like Disney, all the same parent company. So yeah, now it's, or is it still on Netflix? I know it's, I'm pretty sure I saw that you can watch it on Disney Plus. But I remember, because, you know, sometimes Netflix be like having stuff for a little bit and then they take it off. But I remember when I watched Sister Sister for the first time, I watched it on Netflix. But I'm pretty sure you can also watch it on Disney too. Okay, let's go ahead and get back into this. What are we talking about now? I'm into my comments. We're talking about the nerd identity and how self-proclaimed nerds, what factors do they all have in common? So, yes. Being a nerd is not defined by what you love, but by how you love. Nerds are people who really dive into the things they love. They want to know all the ins and outs, the lore, the everything. Another commenter, Briar X Rose, says that being a history nerd, a tech nerd, or a math/science nerd is different from being a movie nerd, a gaming nerd, an anime nerd, and so on. And then finally, another commenter says that I often dig deeper into stuff than what is seen as normal. I love books and gaming, and I also consider myself a makeup nerd. So you can see here that nerds today are typically just anyone who has a lot of interest in any particular topic, no matter what it is. Okay, this is... Not that y'all care. I'm trying to figure out, where did these earrings go? These like diamond shaped are these square earrings? These square hoops? I haven't seen these in a long time. I don't know if these survived the move. I don't know. That sounds so dramatic. Survived. Moesha's ending pissed me off. Listen, no spoilers, no spoilers. Today are typically just anyone who has a lot of interest in any particular topic, no matter what it is. In fact, many self-identified nerds see this term as a sense of pride. We have this commenter who says, I'm one of those people who grew up in a time where being a nerd was a bad thing. Now that I'm an adult who can really set my own rules, and more importantly buy my own stuff, I embrace the term and heavily identify with it. So not only have a lot of traditionally nerdy things become mainstream, like take gaming or like... That kind of reminds me of like what Haryana, so in my Kwanzaa and Rap series, where I featured various guests, content creators, educators, entrepreneurs, Haryana was talking about in one of the clips that I posted about this idea that like sometimes as a Black person, like growing up, you were like, whether or not it's from your peers or your parents, like if they didn't understand something, like maybe a more nerdy interest of yours, they would kind of like be like, well, I don't understand that, so you can't do that, you can't play that, you can't listen to that. Yeah, so that idea of like being able to be an adult and buy your own stuff, you can kind of invest more, maybe those nerdy interests that maybe other people had too, but we just kind of like were taught that like that wasn't okay to express. I'm curious, is that resonate with any of you? You know, being an adult, being able to delve into your interests more. Here's the clip that I was referencing.
A lot of the girls that I was around, because I grew up in a predominantly Black area, didn't really like a lot of the things that I like. They weren't really into anime and animation.
Growing up, a lot of us didn't get to really dig into our interests, or at least if we did, we were
also
very low.
X Mirror is in this as well, but I probably should use that for context, but yeah.
Only in doing so. It's like me personally, I was like always the only Black girl that liked video games and was vocal about it.
One thing I had to learn is that the Black community, they wouldn't allow a lot of us as kids have bigger interests. Like, they were like, no, you can't watch that. No, you can't play that. That's why a lot of people in our community don't start having different interests till they get older. A lot of people just were talking about, they were like, it's just so nice to find a creator that really enjoys a lot of the things that I like, but they also are not going to excuse a lot of the problems that are here.
There was a good handful of women around me who liked video games as well. They just hit it. A lot of Black folks tend to like hide their nerdy interests, and then now we're grown. Now they want to talk about the anime. Now they want to talk about the video. Where were you when I was alone?
Where were y'all?
Where were you?
That part has me rolling.
Just me and my GameCube years ago.
I definitely think it kind of shows how you've brought people together in a way that society at large may not expect, and it helps people. If this topic resonates with you, definitely tune in to the full conversation. So you already know where the link is. I don't even have to tell y'all, so be sure to add this video to your watch later playlist. So yeah, that clip just kind of reminded me of that. Anyways. Tim says, I also feel weird because I'm more patriotic, and I always feel like that's a white people thing. What do you mean by, you mean like, yeah, like you mean like, I think I know what you mean. I'm trying to think of how to say it, because I'm like, when I think patriotic, I think of like America, so yeah. So yeah, I lost my train of thought, but I think that clip kind of just reminded me of this comment a little bit. Fine with it. So not only have a lot of traditionally nerdy things become mainstream, like take gaming or like anime, for example, but activities and interests that would make you an outcast like years ago now have online communities. And some media depictions now even show their nerdy characters doing more normal people things, or like what's stereotypically popular kid activities. Things like having a girlfriend or a boyfriend who's not solely there to take advantage of them, or dressing nice, or... Wait, was that a different world? Hold on. It's like having a girlfriend or a boyfriend. Not I included a clip in here. Not we talking about this. Did I even watch this full episode? I don't even remember. I made this video 4 years ago. Did I watch this? I think what I did is because when I did a lot of research, like I also was referencing other video essays. I'm pretty sure I found this example from another video essay giving examples. I don't think I watched this full episode because I'm like, we're talking about a different world, and I'm like, I forgot I put this in here. This is research, okay? Yes, I felt this clip. I always loved games and animation, and a lot of girls I knew didn't like that stuff. Yeah, so I feel like there is a little bit of a benefit to like being an adult and be able to kind of take control of your interests in that way. Not that I think that excuses people kind of rejecting it from you as you were a kid, but yeah, I definitely think that's yeah, a lot of people can resonate with that. You have so much stuff to watch, Asmara. Yes. Somebody make me a list. Somebody start a list and then put in the chat at the end of everything I need to watch.
Who's not solely there to take advantage of them, or dressing nice, or normally I should say. So the small box of what nerds were just several years ago now have, expanded, but some nerds still disassociate themselves with this term. We have Star Mayor in my comments who says, I always grew up with the exposure to the negative connotation of the geek/nerd, so by nature I struggle to identify that way. I will not outright dispute it when someone calls me one, but I will always be adverse to that phrase. And then we have another commenter who says, as a black woman, I've never really identified as a nerd, even though I've got a lot of nerdy interests, like anime, manga, gaming, comics, and reading lots of books. I guess I never identified with the word because it's mainly white men who are portrayed. And this leads me to the next topic I want to explore, which is where possessing nerdy qualities or traits collides with being black.
Oh, here we go, y'all. We can talk about black
what does it mean
culture.
to be black? Well, that answer will vary from person to person because there is no one single black experience. But I think a good place to start understanding this identity collision is by taking a look at black culture. This portion of the video specifically is going to hone in on black American culture, but just given the fact that we all originate from the same motherland, I'm sure that you can find a lot of similarities across the greater African diaspora.
So yes, we said this before, but I also want to say it again. This idea of not being black enough is definitely, I wrote this from a black American lens, but of course you might find similarities and you might find differences based on different countries you may be from. I don't know if we have any other countries in the chat. Feel free to chime in, or if you're watching this back, let me know in the comments. But yeah, definitely I'm taking this as like a black American lens.
But with that being said, it's important to recognize blackness as not just a race, but as a culture and a community. Yes, there is that sort of universal experience we can all relate to, just due to the ongoing effects of racism and colonialism in countries across the globe. But throughout slavery, the Civil War, and Reconstruction in America, Black Americans created their own culture to reinstill that pride and sense of belonging and community that was prohibited for us to express via the transatlantic slave trade.
One of the biggest things I feel happened in America, because of the slave trade, is it wasn't just people that were stolen from Africa. It wasn't just lives that were stolen from Africa. The more I read about it, the more I understand that fundamentally they stole one of the most valuable things you can steal from a person, and that is the knowledge of your culture. The knowledge of who you are a part of just because you are. One thing I've always admired about Black Americans, and this is something that I feel has traversed the globe, is Black Americans created a culture unto themselves, which is beautiful. Hip-hop and style of language and dressing and everything, and that became a culture.
So Black American culture was...
I want to rewind that one more time because I think this is one of my favorite clips that I included this interview. Well, first of all, Trevor Noah, he's smart. He has a lot of I love listening to interviews with him and just hearing his thoughts and stuff. But yes, I feel like sometimes there's this idea of like, black people, why are we always talking about slavery? Like, slavery was so long ago. The reason we keep talking about slavery is because everything goes back to slavery. We cannot talk about where we are as a country today. Like, we cannot get over it. Like, the reason we have problems with racism today is because it roots back to slavery and colonialism. Even like the reason we are the quote unquote richest country in the world is because y'all didn't pay for labor for 400 years. It's because y'all killed off the indigenous people of this land, gave them diseases, and then called them barbaric and stuff. Like, the reason we are having these sort of conversations, you guys know what I'm talking about. The reason we're having these sort of conversations dates back to slavery. Slavery is still relevant, yes. Just because black people, we're not in shackles does not mean we aren't living in mental shackles. That's a bar right there. Somebody drop my Asmara bars emote. But But yeah, let me play this one more time. Let me make sure y'all have digested that, and then I'll get to your messages. As not just a race, but as a culture and a community. Yes, there is that sort of universal experience we can all relate to just due to the ongoing effects of racism and colonialism in countries across the globe. But throughout slavery, the Civil War, and Reconstruction in America, Black Americans created their own culture to reinstill that pride and sense of belonging and community that was prohibited for us to express via the transatlantic slave trade.
One of the biggest things I feel happened in America, you know, because of the slave trade is it wasn't just people that were stolen from Africa. It wasn't just lives that were stolen from Africa. The more I read about it, the more I understand that fundamentally they stole one of the most valuable things you can steal from a person, and that is the knowledge of your culture. The knowledge of who you are a part of just because you are. One thing I've always admired about Black Americans, and this is something that I feel has traversed the globe, is Black Americans created a culture unto themselves, which is beautiful. You know, hip hop and style of language and dressing and everything, and that became a culture.
So Black American culture was born. Period. Exactly. I love Trevor. Yes, I miss him. Wish he could come back to the Daily Show. Yes, he is. I wasn't watching the Daily Show before Trevor Noah, to be honest. So he definitely had his perspective and his impact definitely made that show. And also, I think what's interesting about Trevor is the fact that he is South African. And if any of you guys, I definitely recommend, if you're a fan of Trevor, check out his book, or even if you're not a fan, check out his book, Born a Crime. It is fantastic. I also highly recommend the audiobook version as well. He reads it in his voice. He's also talking in his native languages. So I think he's talking in like Xhosa, Afrikaans, and I forget, he speaks a lot of languages, but he reads those sections in his languages. I like the way he also voices his mother and stuff. So fantastic. Born a Crime. And it also opened my mind up to like some of the effects of apartheid. Now obviously like his book is his personal story, so it's not going to be like it's not written like a history book, but I think it gives a very interesting perspective to see racism and colonialism in South Africa versus in America, you know, as a more like anecdotal experience. So yes, he's very smart. Love Trevor. He has a podcast also, What Now? That's very interesting to listen to if you want to still hear his voice. I also love his accent. But yeah, Born a Crime. It definitely opened my mind. Because, you know, we do not learn very good Black history in this country. At least I did not. So, yes, definitely opened up my mind to like apartheid and a lot of things. I spent the audiobook is awesome. Yes. I spent so much time in the classroom teaching Black American culture and building Black American students up. You'd be surprised how many American Black children think they don't have a culture. Oh yes, we absolutely do have a culture. That's a impact of white supremacy, colonialism, is they want to tell you that y'all don't have history. Y'all, you know, everything is just Gen Z culture and young people slang. Like, no, listen, like, this is why we need history. We need education, because these people will be trying to tell you, you know, these people will just be trying to tell you anything. So it's important we have people that are, education is important, you know? I'd be like, you have the richest culture in the world. Yes. Black American culture or pop culture would not exist without Black people. Even with stuff like when the TikTok ban stuff was happening, which who knows what the future of TikTok is going to be. But I remember even thinking about like a lot of the top trends on TikTok or just any of these apps. Because a lot of people, you know, as we're reflecting on TikTok as we thought it was going to leave, which it might still leave, I'm not sure. But I'm like, a lot of these trends, this is Black people. Like, hello? Trevor Noah, your future baby daddy. Yes. Also, okay, I'm trying not to get too off topic, but listen, this is a discussion. This is what we're here for. Have any of you all seen the Jennifer Hudson Spirit Tunnels? Have y'all seen the one with Aaron Pierre and all the remixes? Aaron Pierre, that's Mufasa. Anyways, That just kind of reminded me of that, because there's people were saying all types of stuff in them comment sections. So when you said my future baby daddy, that's what I was thinking of. Anyways, I do like Trevor, but okay.
Born out of our resilience, our resistance, and our innovation.
Okay, back to Black culture. JJ says yes. Oh, you seen the Aaron Pierre stuff? I know Jennifer Hudson, that's the first spirit tunnel she had to take the comments off of, because y'all did not know how to act. Y'all I was going on other people's videos trying to find the comments, because by the time I saw, because this man has been like appearing on my feed randomly throughout the month, but I didn't really realize like why he was trending until I don't know what happened. I think I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about like Aaron, Pierre, that's Mufasa. So I went to go look at it and I'm like, oh, so this is the man everybody's been talking about. So now I had to put two and two together, and the comments was gone. And so I was going to other people's videos trying to figure out what the comments was saying. I'm like, y'all is crazy. Anyways, that man is fine. He is very attractive. You can tell God took his time making him. But yeah, I was gonna say something and I completely forgot. Oh, I think one of the comments I did see that somebody said, is someone was like, Aaron, Pierre, that's my baby father. That was funny. Girl, yes, LMAO, the spirit tunnels cracked me up. They had to turn off the comments on Aaron Pierre's, and Andrew Day went on there and copied his move. I was crying laughing. Exactly, y'all been learning the choreography too. It is very funny. Anyways, I don't want to get too distracted, because I could literally pull up all these. I could pull up my favorite remixes and stuff. But okay, let's get back to this. We have to focus. But that man is fine.
Culture.
So Black American culture was born out of our resilience, our resistance, and our innovation. However, it's important to note that, as Her so eloquently put it in YouTube Original's Black Renaissance documentary,
Black culture is more than the Americas, the Caribbean, and Europe, and it doesn't begin where freedom ends. Black culture begins where life does, in Africa.
And so this video cannot encompass...
Okay, not me combining all these clips together, but I want to emphasize that last part again. First of all, this video is actually really good. YouTube Original's Black Renaissance documentary. I wish I could have included more clips from it, but Her said Black culture does not begin where freedom ends. Black culture begins where life does, in Africa. That needs to be put on repeat. See, that's kind of what Shemjem was saying when she was teaching her students. And when Black people don't think they got a culture, no, Black people do have a culture, but also Black history and Black culture don't begin with us in shackles, because that's what they be trying to tell us in these public education systems, is basically that y'all started out as slaves. And I got a lot of problems with that. I feel like y'all obviously watching this understand why that's problematic, like telling people that you started out as a slave and you're nothing more than a descendant of a slave. And y'all are still confused why Black history and Black education is important. Like, anyways, I could get into this. Hi, Tipsa. Welcome on in. I love your profile picture. That's really cute. The bumblebee. How are you doing today? Exactly. Yes. Yes. Black history does not begin where freedom ends. We are more than a descendant of a slave. Like, and that whole idea can explain not even only why education is important, but why like education or why like mentorship and infrastructure is important, and so people can see have a different understanding of what it means to be Black. You know, also this is another thing about why people are like, why do we always have to talk about Black people? Like, why does everything have to be about the Blacks? And it's like, we have to understand that Black people are the only marginalized group. That's not saying that other marginalized groups don't have issues. I'm not saying they don't have issues and there's not spaces to discuss those issues. But when we're talking about Black America specifically, and marginalized people, Black American people are the only people that are a product of chattel slavery. Like, Black people were not even considered human. Like, the 3/5 compromise basically determined Black people as 3/5 of people. Black people were sold and considered as property. No other marginalized group has experienced chattel slavery like we did in America. And I can talk about a lot of things about, like, oh, but slavery existed in Africa. And I can get into that later, but I'm not going to get into that all today. But that whole idea that Black people are the only people that have been, you know, victims of chattel slavery, and that's why our unique perspective in history is different from even other marginalized groups, that is so important to emphasize. And also, I know, like, MLK Day, there's this clip that I feel like goes around in my feed, which it was like this interview asking of, like, why can't Black people pull themselves up by the bootstraps? That was one of, and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., he had a very, very eloquent way of answering that. I'm trying to think, let me see if I can Google this real fast. Hold on. I'd be scared to put, like, okay, hold on. Let me see if I can find this. MLK bootstraps. It should be a short clip, right? No, this is called Bootstraps interview. Okay, this is 2 minutes. Yeah, we can play this.
What is it about the Negro?
Yeah. And then I'll get to your messages.
What is it about the Negro? I mean, every other group that came as an immigrant somehow, not easily, but somehow got around it. Is it just the fact that Negroes are black?
White America must see.
I don't like the way he said black. Y'all heard that? He said, it's because y'all are black. He said that with a hard R.
Got around it. Is it just the fact that Negroes are black?
White America must see that no other ethnic group has been a slave on American soil. That is one thing that other immigrant groups haven't had to face. The other thing is that the color became a stigma. American society made the Negro's color a stigma.
Slavery was not just literal shackles, it's mental shackles too. It plagued, poisoned the minds of people.
America freed the slaves in 1863 through the Emancipation Proclamation of Abraham Lincoln, but gave the slaves no land or nothing in reality, and as a matter of fact,
still waiting on the 40 acres and a mule
to get started on. At the same time, America was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that there was a willingness to give the white peasants from Europe an economic base.
Not he said the white peasants. I know what he meant by that, but yes, like, hold on, what was I going to say? Oh, when people be talking about, like, oh, we need stuff based on merit and hard work. Okay, so what do you talk about? So I like how y'all pick and choose what's considered a handout and what's not.
Peasants from Europe an economic base. And yet it refused to give its black peasants from Africa who came here involuntarily in chains and had worked free for 244 years any kind of economic base. And so emancipation for the Negro was really freedom to hunger. It was freedom to the winds and rains of heaven. It was freedom without food to eat or land to cultivate, and therefore it was freedom and famine at the same time.
Freedom and famine at the same
time. Tell the Negro to lift himself by his own bootstraps. They don't look over the legacy of slavery and segregation. I believe we ought to do all we can and seek to lift ourselves by our own bootstraps. But it's a cruel jest to say to a bootless man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And many Negroes, by the thousands and millions, have been left bootless as a result of all of these years of oppression and as a result of a society that deliberately made his color a stigma and something worthless and degrading.
Okay, and he missed where? He did not miss once, period. So yeah, just wanted to share that little clip because I feel like that's important to know as we're talking about black culture. Black culture does not begin where freedom ends. Black people did not start out as slaves. We were enslaved. That is important to make that distinction. Slavery is something that happened to us. It is not our identity. It is not who we are. It is not who we are going to continue to be. And and for people, especially because we have a lot of conversations right now globally about DEI and merit and all that BS, like, yeah, it's important we know the facts. We know the facts. We get the facts straight. My mom is from Jamaica. I'm going to ask her about what they teach in school about history in her country. I'm curious because while all the black people on this side of the globe came in as chattel slavery, in America, black people remain a minority at only 15% of the population, whereas in Jamaica, Trinidad, Guyana, Barbados, Bahamas, etc., black people are the majority or large majority in the population. Yes, and I'm actually glad that you bring that up because a lot of things that were not even taught in school is that more of the enslaved Africans were actually taken to Latin America more than they were taken to Northern America. So there are, and so that's like a whole other history lesson that we can get into, and I'm not even as educated as I would like to be on that topic. And feel free, if any of you guys have like resources, documentaries, books, recommendations that can get me learning more educated about Black history and Black culture in other parts of the world, I definitely am open to those suggestions. But yeah, like more of the enslaved people were actually taken to South America than they were to North America. And so yeah, it's interesting to see kind of how the history differs. And even going back to Trevor Noah from earlier, even though he's from South Africa, I think he does a really, like, one of the points I really do like from his book is talking about how apartheid, like such an oppressive racist system, could exist in South Africa for so long when white people were literally the minority. So it's like they created like perfect racism where even though the majority of people were Black, there was still the same oppressive infrastructure. Like it still had like a similar impact, you know, in that way. And I feel like there's one other thing I wanted to say. Even like a couple summers ago, a couple summers ago, I went to the International African American Museum in South Carolina. If any of you guys find yourself in South Carolina and around the area in Charleston, definitely recommend y'all check it out. I really there's a lot of things I like about it. I actually made a whole video on my Instagram about me visiting different Black history museums. But what was interesting learning from that museum is that Charleston was actually a Black majority. I can't think of the exact years. Again, I made the video about this, but Charleston was a Black majority. And so it's just interesting to learn about how racism and these colonial systems still existed, even though Black people was the majority. And the majority. And I'm not giving this justice because I'm not saying like, oh, they just sat there and were complacent. Obviously everybody was not, but yeah, it's just an interesting thing to talk about and definitely to learn about. And I definitely need to be more educated on the topic as well. But yeah, if you ever find yourself in Charleston, definitely recommend checking out the International African American Museum. I really love it because it definitely takes more of an international approach. Unlike the DC Black History Museum, which is good. I'm not saying like don't go there, but it is definitely focused on African American history. Whereas I really like the one in Charleston took that international approach. Like we were talking about before, Black people's history does not begin where freedom ends. And I think the Charleston Museum really embodied that. And I thought that was really, really cool. So, yeah. Oh, hey, Bear. I think that's your first message. Sorry, I went on a lot of tangents, but welcome in. Thank you for being here. I like the whole interview. They always do his generic dream quote year after year after year. It's tiring. Even his daughter Bernice says something about that. Yes, Bernice King, she was popping off on Twitter on MLK Day. I've been enjoying. She had a lot to say, as she should. That's her daddy. Now y'all not gonna tarnish his name and inaugurate foolery on MLK Day. Hello. Every year I wish they'd do that instead of bring up. Yeah, every year I wish they'd instead bring up letter from Birmingham jail. Absolutely, yes. I would honestly say letter from Birmingham jail is more reflective of American society today than I Have a Dream. but people like to cherry pick. They like to pick and choose which MLK they they think is palatable and respectable. I did a short on that too, or actually I put it on Instagram and TikTok. I should probably put it on my YouTube channel as well. Sometimes I be forgetting to post like my YouTube shorts. I did a MLK Day short about that idea of whitewashing Martin Luther King or making him seem more palatable. But actually, before we continue, as we're talking about this topic of Black history outside of the Americas, I just remembered I did a essay about Wakanda Forever. Here it is. What I learned about women in power, Black and brown unity, grief and rage in Wakanda. That's like somebody's name. In Wakanda Forever. And I actually talked a little bit about indigenous culture, anti-Blackness in Latin America. And so if that is something that you're interested in, check this video out. Let's see. And then we'll get back into it. Yes, thank you for talking to me. Like, this is exactly like the vibes I wanted in these live discussions, is I like actually hearing from your perspectives. So feel free to add this video to your watch later playlist. You can just open this up in a new tab if you're on a computer or something. All right, now let's get back into this. Black culture. We need to hurry this up. We got all this essay to listen to. Okay.
Culture begins where life does, in Africa. And so this video cannot encompass everything that is a part of Black culture, but the things I'm going to be sharing in this section are just based off of my own personal experiences and my own personal interactions with Black people, common cultural threads I've noticed just from following a variety of different Black people and Black thought leaders and Black creators, and also from the Black media I consumed. So I tried to do my best to encapsulate a lot of contributions that Black Americans have made specifically, and a lot of things that Black Americans have popularized, and a lot of things that are common in Black households and Black families. So using all of these sources, perspectives, and voices, I came up with this list. But before we get into all that Black culture entails, let's first start off by defining culture. So culture is an umbrella term which encompasses the social behavior and norms found in human societies. I went ahead and accumulated a bullet point list of all of the different elements that make up culture based off all the different definitions I read, and so here is the list that I came up with. So culture is the generational passing of habits, custom, values, language, and knowledge. It's your traditions and sort of way of doing things. Culture is the arts of a particular group or society, their literature, entertainment, music, fashion, and beauty standards. Culture consists of the laws, politics, individual pursuits, and community goals of a particular community. And finally, culture encompasses the achievements of a particular society. So culture is cultivated, culture is nourished, and most importantly, culture is generational. I will say though, because Black Americans have had a unique experience due to the transatlantic slave trade, you know, we were not slaves, but we were enslaved.
Period.
A lot of Black American culture, what is considered that today, has a lot of roots to just Southern culture, where a lot of the enslaved were held. And a lot of what has been passed down generationally is due to how our ancestors and how our families have had to deal with racism and oppression. Because we are still not very far removed from civil rights and all of these.
Wait, what did I say here? Hold on. What I put in this add-in?
Passed down generationally is due to how our ancestors and how our families have had to deal with racism and oppression. Because we are.
And how they've also had to process that trauma. Yes, definitely. And I'll get to your messages, guys. Yes, I just want to get a little bit further, and then I'll start reading y'all stuff.
We're still not very far removed from civil rights and all of these other things. Like, the oppression is still happening, and even in the 60s, where we consider the civil rights era, really still was not that long ago. There are a lot of things that oftentimes get associated with Black culture, but aren't inherently so.
Also, I think that's important even to talk about, while we were talking about Martin Luther King, like, people be acting like this was a long time ago. No, the 50s and 60s were not that long ago. A lot of our parents or family members were alive, or grandparents were alive during these times. People be acting like, oh, this was so long ago, everything has changed. Like, yes, I'm not like, society has changed, but also, like, the 60s and 50s, like, this was actually not that long ago. Like, a lot of these people, like, lived through that, are still living, you know, like, they are still with us. It's also important. Sorry, Tim says earlier it's important that King wasn't a perfect person. It's also important to note that King wasn't perfect. Yeah, so I think where you're talking about that, and we're talking about like the idea of people put Martin Luther King Jr. on a pedestal, and although he was important to our history. There are also, America likes to skip over a lot of the other things, you know. My mama just texted me back. She essentially said the history she learned there was in Jamaica was garbage too. They taught about national heroes, buccaneers, Columbus, discovering slaves in maroon communities, nothing about Africa. She said she learned a lot about Jamaican history when she went to college in America and read books about it in Latin American and Caribbean studies classes. Yes, which is terrible. Like, this is the reason why we need better just standard education. Like, why does it take us becoming cognizant of like, there is more to this story that we are not learning. Like, we have to be the one to seek out the information. The information is not just a default in school. But yeah, but also that's also, even speaking about Latin America, Jamaica, like colonialism, people I think don't understand the depth of what colonialism did, you know? So even in countries that are black majorities or have a large black population are still affected by colonialism. And actually one of my favorite creators, allegedly Stephanie, she used to be Wine and Chill. She does a lot of pop culture law breakdowns. She used to be a lawyer. But she's Jamaican, and I know she has a series called Colonizer Exposed, where she has talked about some of these topics, if that's interesting to you. I love Stephanie. She's educational, but also very funny. She does very much the edutainment. BS. Colonization has, I don't say taken over the world, but it has so many insidious impacts. Sadly, not much has changed. We really do have to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery, as Bob Marley said, because that's just wild to me. I was just so certain that the black countries, big black folks, lol. My mom was born in 1962 and would have learned that in 1980s America. Yes. Yeah, so there's definitely a lot to unpack there of how black culture, or the perception of black culture, is also different depending on where you are in the diaspora. And I'm not gonna get too much into this today, but I think there's also a connotation of like black Americans. I feel like there's a stereotype that black Americans seem to be more excited about black history and black culture than Africans. And I'm not gonna get too much into it, because a lot of there's a lot to unpack there, and I can't fully dissect this idea and why that is. But as we've kind of discussed, like our histories, I think largely influence that as well. I love allegedly Stephanie. Yes, Stephanie, she is very funny, but also I be learning a lot too from her. Really still was not that long ago. There are a lot of things that oftentimes get associated with black culture but aren't inherently so. So keep that in mind as I discuss the generational passing of knowledge and values and beliefs in this next section. So for starters, I think a lot of black Americans have adopted a sort of stricter parenting style, at least like, you know, and it's definitely changing now, but at least like my parents' generation and like older, I think a lot of black Americans can relate to specific sayings or attitudes that our parents or grandparents passed down to us. Like, you want to go to McDonald's, you got McDonald's money. A lot of black kids know what it's like to get whooped, not just spanked, but whooped. When you live under my house, you abide by my rules. I'm the parent. Also, I don't know if y'all, okay, look, now I don't want to bring up y'all's any trauma stories, but I think it's very interesting how, because like I said this in the video, but I think things are definitely changing now. But I feel like I've brought up some of my like whooping stories to my parents, and they completely forgot that happened. They're like, oh, I forgot about that. Like, oh, how conveniently that you forgot. I wasn't even a bad kid, but sometimes I be getting whooped for like dumb stuff, like stuff that like there was a better resolution. And so I think that kind of goes back to like the generational passing of like behaviors. Like, if your parents did something, you're probably more inclined to do it as well. And of course, I'm not trying to, you know, like shit on parents again. People do the best they can with, for the most part, not everybody, but for the most part, people do the best they can with the information that they have. But I think it's definitely important that we are unpacking some of the harmful things that we have just been internalized and taught as like normal. Like, some of the hitting, some of the whoopings were kind of excessive. Like, okay, there was another way we could have handled this. But anyways,
like, you want to go to McDonald's, you got McDonald's money. A lot of black kids know what it's like to get whooped, not just spanked, but whooped. When you live under my house, you abide by my rules. I'm the parent, you the child. What happens in the house stays in the house. And like I said earlier, a lot of that has to do with like the need, more so, for black parents to prepare their child for the real world and what their grandparents and what their parents taught them.
Oh, I do want to read this real quick. I included this excerpt from Between the World and Me, a great book I read in a minority studies class in college, the short time I was there. But let me see. Okay, this is from an article. What is this? This is from The Atlantic. Let me read the book.
And what
excerpt.
their grandparents.
So yeah, this is from Ta-Nehisi Coates' book, Between the World and Me. Dad did what every parent I knew would have done. He reached for his belt. Either I can beat him or the police. And that's also, again, creating more nuance into the whooping conversation. This is definitely something that is not an isolated incident, so to speak, you know?
Parents and what their parents taught them. For a long time, our people's mentality has been more to survive. And so this mentality has passed down a lot of really good things, but then on the flip side, there has also been a lot of not so good things or not so positive things that have come as a result, which again, a lot of that is changing in this generation and the next kids that are coming up, but there is a lot of things that black Americans have inherited. I think something that is also
Tim says, yeah, children, don't forget, black parents are rough on their kids and it ain't easy raising people, but still, yes, absolutely. Chem Jem says, yeah, I don't believe in corporal punishment at all on children. I don't have any, but my mother-in-law in particular think that's radical. Imagine thinking it's radical to not hit someone. Yes, and I remember hearing like a story of somebody saying like his kids were like fighting. Basically, his youngest son had hit his oldest son, and then to punish him, he was like, okay, I'm gonna hit you. And that was the moment that he realized, he was like, this is kind of backwards. That the reason I'm punishing my kid from hitting his brother by hitting him, you know? So yeah, and I'm not a scholar, I'm not a what's the word, social worker or a child studies researcher, but there are people who have done that, who have done the research. And I encourage people to take a look at that if you want to hear more information or more data about the impacts of that. Excellent books, Spare the Kids, Why Whooping Children Don't Save Black America by Stacey Patton. Okay, let me look that up. Hold on, I'll write that down as I keep playing this.
Also been passed down to a lot of black American kids is the emphasis on education. For a majority of the time of this country, we were not given the same educational opportunities or not afforded that. And so a lot of black families really prioritize how important it was to be educated, to learn how to read, and to continue school. You'll notice that in a lot of black families, being college educated is something that is prioritized. But education, unfortunately, is still more of a privilege than a right. And so because of that, a lot of times street smarts or being street savvy is what was valued in a lot of predominantly black communities. A lot of things like book smarts or like STEM, that didn't seem very tangible for a lot of black kids, or just wasn't seen as desirable, quite frankly. Consequently, ways that we did see ourselves represented are in things like athletics, entertainment, comedy, acting, entertainers, which those are all good things. However, I think sometimes that can be coupled with that is the way to make it as a black person in the world, is to just pursue these very niche activities. And to quote Dr. Naeem Akbar from his book, Chains and Images of Psychological Slavery, entertainers and athletes are popular heroes of the African American community. Physical prowess or comic exploit are the only characteristics black heroes are permitted to express. Intellectual acuity, prophetic vision, moral integrity, technological know-how, and managerial efficiency are characteristics seldom, if ever, portrayed. Harmful beliefs can also be passed generationally too. Things like there is a stigma of mental health in the black community, which I've said this time and time again, this is definitely changing, but that has been a stigma in our community for a long time that prevents.
Do you guys have, on that note of like mental health, I'm curious if you guys have people in your families that still have this idea that like therapy is still for white people. And actually, referencing back to Kwanzaa Unwrapped, on the final day of Kwanzaa Unwrapped, or not the final day, but the final panel discussion, one of the people I had on, her name was Kiara Imani, and she wrote her debut book. It's called Therapy Isn't Just for White People. And I think it was a great perspective to show that, like, mental health, first of all, did not discriminate, but it also doesn't show up one way. I think, like, sometimes there's this idea that, like, I think black people especially, like older black people especially, love to bring up slavery and segregation as a reason why we don't have anything to complain about and why we should be grateful. And you got a roof over your head. You I know got no reason to be depressed. Like, those types of thoughts are not helpful and don't actually like address the root of the problem. And I think there's a lot of reasons of why that narrative is problematic, but therapy is not just for white people. Go check out the book. And also this is a good read as well. I forgot what this said, but I noted my favorite sources, which, by the way, if you guys want to look at any of the sources that I used, I link all my sources in the description. So let me see. And I organize it by like the sections of the video. So I make it very accessible if you want to further your own research, or if you are interested in anything I said here and want to see more about it. Let me see. Like, what did I'll make that a little bit bigger. You can see that, like, actually in the first section, there was a thing about the YouTube Originals Black Renaissance documentary. This is a good watch. Recommend that. And then what is the one I did here? Where's the hold on. School USC. Okay, where's the USC source? I can just Control F. Why mental health care is stigmatized in the black community, 2019. Yeah, so you can just Control F and easily find stuff if you're interested. Oh, you also talk about like the discipline. Lots of yelling can affect people too mentally. Yes. Staring down can make one feel minuscule. Absolutely. Tim says black people often gloss over mental health, especially older black people. Their solution is always church, which is okay, but it's not enough. Yes, and also I feel like even for the older black folks, I think we have to bring back nuance. We need to bring back that two things can exist at the same time. You can have Jesus and also have therapy. Like, it's not like you gotta choose one or the other, you know? So we need to bring back, bring back nuance. Things aren't just one or the other, okay? In the type of church that black people go to can't help all of us, like the LGBTQ plus community. Yeah, and that is definitely another conversation to be had of like the nuances of that.
Prevents a lot of black people from receiving that necessary professional help of healing that generational trauma that we have inherited, or even the idea of when getting money and getting rich.
I also wanted to say, I don't want to make generalizations that all churches are like that or necessarily discriminatory, but it is definitely like I would say like the more traditional type environments may like not be as caught up to speed on that, if that makes sense. So I don't want to make it just a blanket statement like, yeah, y'all not welcome here, but I understand what you were saying. I just don't want anybody watching this back to get the wrong interpretation of what I was trying to say. There's there's homophobia, transphobia, like there was definitely some issues in the black community with that. I didn't mean to delete my comment, but somehow you got to read it anyways. Yeah, Liz, I was quick, okay? Yeah, I think there's also a lag too. So by the time I see your comments and by the time you are hearing me, there's like a bit of like a delay. So yeah, the stream is not like in exactly real time, so I caught it just in time. But okay, let's go back to mental health.
That prevents a lot of black people from receiving that necessary professional help of healing that generational trauma that we have inherited. Or even the idea of when getting money and getting rich is sometimes considered white man's money in some black communities, which again perpetuates the idea that blackness is synonymous with poverty, which is not true. A lot of black people in America are disproportionately affected by poverty due to ongoing effects of racism, redlining, colonialism, gentrification, all of those things.
However, blackness and poverty is not one and the same. So
Say that
those are
again.
examples of some like maybe not so great things that have come as a result of like black culture and our experience in America. It's complicated, but like I said earlier, there is a ton of amazing things and great things that have come as a result of black culture, and that have been passed down through the generations. Things like soul food, the way black people make food, it be hitting different. And the many traditions born out of our soul food dinners, like the idea of being invited to the cookout, or my personal favorite hashtag that trends every year on Twitter, Thanksgiving with black families. Things like Anyway, this is honestly one of the things I miss about Twitter, which I still be on Twitter sometimes, but I be missing just like the fun, like the jokes. People be getting off with the jokes, and people still be getting off for the jokes, but Twitter has just, it's been a hot mess in the past, few years. But what did I include here? If the person cooking Thanksgiving dinner arm don't look like this, I'm not coming over. Get your coat, we leaving. 30 minutes later, we still here. Definitely, that's my family. Your mama said we can play in your room. Also, this is over Thanksgiving, which was a while ago, but I had gone to a cousin's house that I haven't seen them in a while, and it's funny because all of like the kids, usually like growing up we would eat at the kids table, but now all the kids are like adults like over 21, but we still go eat different, like in a different part than our parents, which I do think is kind of interesting. I'm like, do y'all still experience that? Like, y'all still have a kids table even though we're not kids no more? But yeah. Shem Jem says, I think there are LGBT affirming churches. I just don't think that traditional black churches are them. Yes, definitely. Tim says, another thing that's funny is when black people make fun of for dating white people, even though we fought hard to achieve that. That is, like the interracial dating conversation. I actually have a whole unpublished video essay where I talk about this. This is a little sneak peek since y'all are here. I played a game, I think 2 years ago, coming up on 2 years. That's so bad. Called Best Month Ever. It's a game about a mom-son duo navigating race relations, terminal illness, and just their bond in 1960s America. Mitch, who's Louise's, so the mom-son duo is Louise and Mitch. Louise is white and her son is black or biracial, and so those topics come up in the video. And I did make an essay talking actually about the history of interracial dating, or particularly black-white interracial dating, and the implications today, like why is it a big deal that people date interracially? And it is a complicated topic. So the reason I bring this up is because I do want to say I covered that more in depth in that video, because there's no way I can fully encapsulate the many nuances, because like I said before, the reason that there is a unique connotation of why black people's history is unique is because we are the only marginalized groups that have been enslaved. And so black-white relationships have a unique connotation because of that. So I don't think that's what you meant. I just wanted, since you brought that up, the point of interracial dating, I just want to say that what does I want to say? I just want to acknowledge, that's better. I just want to acknowledge that yes, there's a very complicated history with that. And there are many reasons why it's still a conversation. So yeah, don't take that. I don't take that as if I was trying to like ridicule your comment or anything. That wasn't my intention. It was just a jumping off point to something that I did want to acknowledge or talk about. Unpopular opinion, I don't think we were fighting to be with white people. I think we were fighting for equity. Yeah, so yeah, so I'm like pausing because I'm like, there's so much I could say, but I don't want to get too into it when right now, if that makes sense. You know? But yeah, don't take this as if I'm trying to, what's it called? Ignore the topic. It's just, there's a lot to unpack. So be on lookout for that video whenever I finish it.
Thanksgiving with Black families. Things like African American vernacular English.
So yeah, now we're talking about good things from Black culture. So we talked about soul food, talked about like how Black people have creatively used the internet, which, by the way, a great documentary if you want to learn about some modern Black history is Black Twitter, A People's History on Hulu. Fantastic documentary. Yeah, it just shows how Black culture impacts pop culture. So yeah.
Which also is referred to as ebonics, the way we mold language, and a lot of what is basically words created by Black culture is just pop culture or internet language now. Another thing, a part of like the values or beliefs adopted by a lot of Black Americans is even things like faith. Christianity and also Islam was adopted by a lot of Black Americans, and so that has sort of those religions' values have been ingrained into a lot of Black American cultures and a lot of Black American.
Oh, I did also want to emphasize this. These religions also have existed in Africa before colonialism. This is another topic, like kind of subtopic, where I do hear conversations about this, but this is not the platform to get extensively into it. But sometimes there's an idea that like certain religions is like, or Christianity or other religions is like the white man's religion, you know? So and there's just a lot of but yeah, these religions have also existed in Africa before white people got there, so that's important to mention as well. Yeah.
American families.
And
not everyone.
Hello, Ray J. Welcome on in. It's great to see you here. You're a new subscriber. Welcome. Everybody give Ray J a warm welcome. I'm Afro Canadian Caribbean. Okay, now we got you know the different what's it called? We got the different countries in the house, period. The different identities, intersections. Even Judaism too, yeah. So different religions definitely existed in Africa before white people got there. So that's important thing to note.
But I would say a large portion. Another significant way Black culture has contributed to the world is through our arts. Poets, playwrights, essayists, and novelists such as James Baldwin, August Wilson, Lorraine Hansberry, Maya Angelou, and Toni Morrison all spoke to the struggle that Black Americans face while still delivering a greater message to the world at large. And a countless number of Black writers and authors continue that legacy today. Similarly, comedians have been able to do the same. From Dick Gregory to Eddie Murphy, Chris Rock, or Dave Chappelle, Black wit transcends just the Black community. And you can say the same for Black performing actors. In a time where American TV shows and movies showed a contemporary American life, quote unquote, Black experiences and Black stories were oftentimes excluded from that conversation. So Black people made our own shows and made our own space in Hollywood in the performing arts. We brought y'all The Fresh Prince, Sister Sister, Moesha, Family Matters, Girlfriends, Martin, The Cosby Show, and so many more. In a time where shows like Friends, Full House were supposed to depict the average American life. Music has been another conduit for Black excellence and Black thought. From the soul of gospel and jazz to the liveliness of blues and rock and roll. Yes, Black people actually created rock and roll. The social consciousness of...
Oh yes, if y'all want to know about Black people on the music topic of like white people music, and I think this conversation is becoming more, what's it called? Universal now, or more, not universal, but talked about a little bit more, especially with Beyonce in the past couple of years. You know, she released an EDM album and then also a country album, and not saying that like, oh, Beyonce made these genres popular with Black people again, but I think an interesting conversation is because of how much of a global star she is and how much Beyonce has also resonated with the Black community. It definitely caused at least more conversations on my timeline about the history of these genres and how Black people were a staple in the country genre before Beyonce and before white people, honestly. What else? Also EDM, like Black people have histories in like the house music genre, which I didn't realize that house music was considered like white music. I've always liked house music. I've always liked EDM. I didn't realize that was like a white people thing until I, quote unquote white people thing, until people was talking about it. Some great videos about, if you're curious about, let me see, Beyonce and let me see how long this is. Garrison Hayes wrote a great let me see. He has a video. Khalil Green has a great video about like Black people's history and country. How long is this? I think we can watch this.
That Beyonce's new album is out. But what you may not know is the beautiful Black history behind one of the songs she covers on it. I thought this little history nugget was amazing. Beyonce's version of Blackbird on her album Cowboy Carter.
Oh, I hope that's not copyrighted. Oh my gosh. Okay, wait, hold on. I'm gonna mute that. I'm like scared. YouTube, don't be playing.
Paul McCartney for the Beatles was about the Black liberation struggle of the American civil rights movement.
Blackbird, I was sitting around with my acoustic guitar and I'd heard about the civil rights troubles that were happening in the 60s in Alabama, Mississippi, Little Rock in particular. So that was in my mind and I just thought it'd be really good if I could write something that if it ever reached any of the people going through those problems, it might kind of give them a little bit of hope.
For McCartney, Blackbird was a subtle play on the words black girl.
And in England, a bird is a girl. So I was thinking of a black girl going through this, now's your time to arise, set yourself free.
Think about the incredibly brave little black girls desegregating the American South. Ruby Bridges, Elizabeth Eckford, and many, many others who faced hell. That's who this song was written for, which adds even more significance to Beyonce's choice to feature the voices of 4 Black women on her version of this song. I don't know, it's kind of perfect. Okay, so you may know that
Anyways, love Garrison. There's also, let me see if I can find Khalil's video. This is Instagram. He's also on TikTok, both Garrison and Khalil. They make great Black history videos. Because a lot of people like re-upload. I remember they re-uploaded these videos after the Beyonce Bowl.
A lot of discourse about Beyonce's cultural upbringing ever since she announced her new country album. So let's
Okay,
travel
wait,
around
hold
her
on.
hometown
I don't-
of Houston to get a feel for the culture.
I'm sorry. They got Texas Hold'em in the background. I'm not sure if this is going to be copyrighted. Anyways, I'd recommend checking this out. This talks a little bit about Black people's history and kind of country culture, how rodeos were also very, like, the Black rodeos in Houston. And yeah, this is not all white people-ish, Like, Black people are integral to this sort of history. Okay, I'm just scared, y'all, because of the copyrighted music and stuff. Anyways, Khalil, and Khalil Green and Garrison Hayes. Definitely recommend them. Gotta save my money, again, since she's doing another tour. Oh, did she announce? I remember, like, she was supposed to announce a tour, and then she didn't announce something. So it's confirmed she's going back on tour. I know them ticket prices is crazy. Ticketmaster, they don't care about your wallets. They're like, we trying to be rich too. Khalil, Gen Z historian, is fire. Yes, I love Khalil.
Hip hop and the sensuality of R&B at the
So yes, Black people did not just influence hip hop and R&B. We all art and gospel. We have influence on all the genres.
Of all these genres are the influences and voices of Black people. In hip-hop, notably being one of the most influential genres of music today, it's important to know that it's a lot more than just a trap beat or words that rhyme, and hip-hop culture transcends what you hear on the Billboard Top 100 today. Originally a unique blend of jazz and poetry, hip-hop voiced the struggles of Black Americans and brought about an entire culture of breakdancing, rap battles, street art, MCing, DJing, fashion, and so much more. From DJ Kool Herc to Curtis Blow, the Sugar Hill Gang, and Grandmaster Flash to LL Cool J, Biggie, Tupac, Lauryn Hill, and the Kendrick Lamars. Hip-hop artists of all different decades have been influential in so many ways. When it comes to fashion and beauty, Black innovation truly shines. Rooted in African traditions, Black hair has been manipulated in so many intricate ways. From braids and locks to twists and knots, shaves, waves, and fades. Hair in the Black community is art itself. And I got, my cornrows right now, so you already know. A lot of low-income Black neighborhoods.
Also, side note, getting cornrows in hurts. I think this is the last time. 4 years ago when I got cornrows in, because my head was on fire. And also another thing about cornrows is because you got to really keep them fresh, because that, like, you can't really hide the new growth. So yeah, I will not be getting cornrows in a wildlife year, but I do really want to try Fulani braids. I'm just like, I got to be mentally prepared for that.
In conjunction with the Vietnamese community, has popularized the idea of having long, blinged out acrylic nails. What was once seen as ghetto and ratchet is
Also, yes, before Sha'Carri Richardson, what's her name? Oh my god, okay. Florence Griffith at the 1988 Olympics. So a little bit of, Black history here. I'm pretty sure this is also my sources as well. But yeah.
What was once seen as ghetto and ratchet is now essentially just pop culture and what you can see a lot of people rocking. And you have to thank the Black community as well as the Vietnamese community for that, making nail art more accessible to more people. And
I do want to make a little also note, is because I still need to be more educated a little bit on nail salon history or nail art history, and how the Vietnamese community, because I do notice, like, when I said this here, I was kind of basing this information off of a documentary I watched it's on Vimeo. Oh, it's gone. Dang. I actually really liked this documentary. It's called Nailed It. It was the history of the Vietnamese nail salon in the US. Basically, this whole idea was based on the idea of, like, why are so many nail salons owned by Vietnamese families and stuff, but it also had a lot of interesting Black history in there as well. But the way I said in the video, I don't want to make it seem like it was like I was trying to be like all lives matter in the way that I said that, but I do think it was interesting. This documentary, hopefully I can find it somewhere, did also include, it had like a very intersectional history, which I thought was interesting. And it's not to say that there's not successful Black owned nail salons and there's things specifically that Black people popularized, because that absolutely was a part of it too. But yeah, I wish that documentary still existed. Dang. Anyways, I really liked it. I thought it was interesting. Country too. Yes, that's what we're kind of talking about with like Beyonce, or kind of what I was hinting at. How Black people have influenced country music. There's a lot of history in her album. Hound Dog was originally by Big Mama Thornton, not Elvis. Yes, absolutely.
And we can't forget about the ways Black people have influenced fashion through R&B and hip-hop. Hip-hop fashion is essentially modern-day streetwear, from baggy clothes to sneaker culture, chains, Timbs, windbreakers, bucket hats, and even the Y2K style, which is coming back now.
I'm actually a fan
Black
of
people
Y2K.
have also been at the forefront of activism, from Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass to Marsha P. Johnson, Angela Davis, Audre Lorde, Malcolm X and MLK, to Angela Rye, Colin Kaepernick, Tarana Burke, and the women who formed Black Lives Matter. There's just so many names. Historically and in present day, Black faces have been at the forefront of fighting for civil justice and civil rights for everybody. Our community has been committed to civil liberties, equity, and fighting to be seen as human. And when it comes to Black achievement, Black excellence is everywhere, even if you may not even know it. We make strides from everything.
Oh, this part that's coming up is one of the most played parts, so this is going to be interesting to see what people went back to watch. Ray J says, even white women have acrylic nails and giant hoop earrings. Exactly. Who did that first? Black people.
From activism to education to athleticism to fashion and STEM. And I think the...
Oh, wait, hold on. I actually want to pause real quick on this. This is actually a great... I don't know if it would be called a docuseries. I guess it's kind of a docuseries. This is on Hulu. My brother actually told me about this. It's called Your Attention Please. And it highlights Black innovators and change makers that you may not know about. And it's like present day people. It's not like history people. So yeah, this is another great watch. Again, all my sources are here, linked here. So if you forget anything, feel free to just come back to this source list, which is linked in the description of this video.
To athleticism to fashion and STEM. And I think the whole idea of Black boy joy and Black girl magic is rooted in celebrating us, the ordinary and the extraordinary. It's acknowledging the struggle while still finding joy despite it. Celebrating Blackness and Black excellence is having pride in who we are, the many forms we come in,
all we've been through, and the magic that still manages to persist. And so that's how I would describe Black culture. So just by taking a look at this list, you can see how much of Black culture has truly transformed pop culture and has just been influential to the way we live life today. Black culture is pop culture, and especially as it comes to the arts. And so being cool is definitely something important in a lot of different communities, or feeling that you fit in. But when you're Black, particularly, I think the stakes are even higher for us to feel like we fit into the standards of Blackness. And nerdiness directly contradicts that.
The hardest part about being a Black nerd was that I didn't fit in with anybody. Not to mention, before the internet, there were only 2 Black nerds, me and this guy.
And in the Black community specifically, anything associated with nerdiness is oftentimes simultaneously associated with whiteness, which for obvious historical reasons is also seen to be a threat to Blackness.
It seems like if you act too Black, then you won't fit in with the white kids or the other kids that aren't Black. And if you aren't Black enough, then the Black kids don't see you as Black. They don't accept you as who you are.
I think when Black people imply that you're not Black enough, what they're really saying is that you don't seem to exhibit stereotypical Black qualities or be well versed in what we generally understand to be Black culture. Proximity to whiteness essentially seems to make you less Black. And obviously, this mentality comes from a place of ignorance, because there's not one way to be Black. To be Black is to be Black. Race has nothing to do with your personality or cultural competence. But I really want to look further into this idea of not being Black enough, specifically from the perspective of being a geek or a nerd. So I have a couple examples. Okay, before we get into this, Chef Jen says, what would take me out to seeing a white girl in the bamboo earring? Honestly, I don't put nothing past white people nowadays. Like the Columbus thing, the like, OMG, hey guys, I found this brand new, I found this new thing. I invented this new thing. And Black people have been like, we've been done that. I feel like there's something new on TikTok every day. My dad bought me some bamboo earrings for my birthday. Let me grab them. They say Asmara in them. Yeah, so y'all can see that, yeah. You do the beauty guru thing. Yeah, so they say Asmara. I kind of want to get these in gold, and I also want to get them. He got him in all caps, which I don't think he meant to do. But I do want to get it like in regular text, like Asmara, like the A capital, but the rest lowercase. But I think I also do want to get him gold because I wear gold more often. But yeah, I would not be surprised. White women been like, hey guys, so I found this thing. It's called, what would they call it? Not bamboo. They probably call it something like, I don't know, tree bark earrings. I think it's really cool, so I'm putting my Amazon storefront, my LTK. No, I can see that happening right now. Beautiful. Thank you. I love want some in gold. Yes, I wear gold more often. So yeah, I want to get some in gold too. And also, I wore these to the Creator Collective. I went to a YouTube Creator Collective towards the end of last year, and so I wore these. Also share with you guys. The first example is a blog post from a blurb. Yeah, back to Black nerds. So we're talking about, let's see, not being Black enough. Hold on. Post from a exhibit stereotypical culture. Proximity to whiteness essentially seems to make you less Black. And obviously, this mentality comes from a place of ignorance, because there's not one way to be Black. To be Black is to be Black. Race has nothing to do with your personality or cultural competence. But I really want to look further into this idea of not being Black enough, specifically from the perspective of being a geek or a nerd. So I have a couple examples to share with you guys. The first example is a blog post from a blurred who basically just talks about her experience with the term and her experience having her nerdiness essentially equated to whiteness. So it's a bit of a long excerpt, but I think it's pretty good at explaining this. So it reads, I didn't grow up with the term blurred, I just lived it. Outwardly, I blended in nicely while living in Queens, New York. That is until I opened Speaking my of New mouth. York, I would hardly shut up about my love for Sonic the Hedgehog, role-playing, and watching anime. I hadn't realized that these things were more mainly associated with things white people do, until one day I was told, because I enjoyed rock music and role-playing, that I was not Black. I still have to ask myself if I'm Black enough to even write about being a blurred. If you're a nerd, it is considered a violation of culture, a betrayal. It's acting white. Growing up Black and nerdy was intimidating. I was made to feel ashamed because of the things that brought me joy. So I did what any person would do when getting attacked. I hid. I only let my nerd flag fly high when I knew it was safe, when I suspected that I wouldn't be ridiculed for it. When I could find a safe nerd space to converse, it was primarily populated with white men. I had a few female friends, not many of whom were persons of color, who were geeky or nerdy. But black people, no matter the gender, made fun of me for being black and nerdy. And we can see this in several examples throughout media, where black nerd characters are oftentimes the butt of the joke or made to be the less black character or somebody betraying black culture. If you check out this example from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Carlton Banks and Will Smith's character are trying to get into this black fraternity, and they essentially accept Will but reject Carlton because he didn't fit the mold of what they thought a black person should be.
I'm not accepting no prep school, Bel-Air bred sellout into my fraternity. You think I'm a sellout? Why? Because I live in a big house or I dress a certain way? Or maybe it's because I like Barry Manilow. You mean Barry White, y'all? Being black isn't what I'm trying to be, it's what I am.
But when you take a step back and think about it and examine all the things black culture is known for popularizing and all of the things black people are oftentimes recognized for and applauded for, not very often are they things in more nerdy fields. So no wonder there's such an internalized marginalization of black people who possess more nerdy qualities or characteristics. That person doesn't really seem to fit the mold of what we have imagined the black American to be like. And this prejudice isn't just from outside forces, like this is also happening within the black community itself. So why is this? There are a couple speculations. For starters, there's the social pressure of what it means to be black, and that does not mean being nerdy for the most part.
People take race and ethnicity with so much pride that if you're excluding people who you don't feel like fit whatever ideal you have for your race or ethnicity, you don't realize how bad it makes them feel.
And it doesn't help that we don't have a lot of like role models or highly visible influences in fields that seem more nerdy. And again, that definitely is changing. Just because you can kind of see, this is actually the part of the video where I that's aligned with my original script. If you guys remember some of the stuff I highlighted, these are kind of some of the topics you can see coming up here, coming into fruition of my original idea. And so I ended up doing, when I do these video essays, I ended up like finding the history really fascinating. So like this ends up being kind of like the end point. Like this is kind of like the question we're answering, but I feel like the journey to get there, like the history, learning about what nerd is, like I feel like the context of learning like what a nerd is in society, how we see them portrayed, and then also breaking down black culture, things that's generally associated with black culture and how those intersect. I feel like that history, that context is necessary for understanding these kind of societal topics and pressures. And so I feel like this is one of those first video essays, which this is one of my first few video essays period, but this is kind of feel like where my interest, or I really started around this time acknowledging the importance of history. And you can even see that in like my Sims 4 documentary, for instance. Like the whole first part of that video was the context, it was the history. But yeah. That episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was hard to watch. And when Carlton got shot. Wait, I don't think I remember that one. I remember when they got arrested. I don't think I remember that one. I have seen Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, so y'all can't get on me for not seeing Fresh Prince, but I don't think I've seen every single episode. But I do remember the one where they got arrested by the police. That one, it's kind of sad even to think back about how we are in 2025 and not much has changed. Or Will got shot. Oh, okay. Got it. It's like what Uncle Phil said, I worked hard to get my family to where it is, and there's a penalty to success. Ooh, yeah. That's a bar right there. Period. Also, have you guys watched Bel-Air? Like the drama? I don't want to get too much into it, but I watched the first season and I enjoyed it, but there was like Carlton, the new Carlton, they took him in a different direction, which I mean, I liked that the new Bel-Air was not just a repeat of the original show. Like I liked they did something different, but yeah. I'm like, this is a different type of show. RJ says, as a black nerd, I sometimes joke around and say I am the whitest person in my family, but in honesty, sometimes I kind of feel left out for my love for Disney, and not having slang excludes me. Yes, so I feel like this, that like literally experiences like that is why I created this essay to begin with. So I'm glad that you're here. We're able to kind of have these conversations and kind of understand like where this all originated from, you know? Yeah, I just saw the episode where Will got shot a couple days ago because Fresh Prince is one of my comfort shows. Not y'all trying to watch it. Not you trying to watch it for comfort. He gets shot. I also watch Bel Air. I like it. It's a nice take on a remake. Yeah, I do. Like, I will say, I do like the Bel Air, but it's just, it's a different vibe than Fresh Prince, which I feel like it should be. Like, I feel like that's obviously the trailers and the promo and stuff, but yeah, like, I wasn't expecting Carlton to be like, ooh, I don't really like your character very much. And of course, like, nuance, like, we need to bring back nuance, but, yeah, it was just an interesting switch, I guess, going from the Fresh Prince of Bel Air, how we remember it, to watching Bel Air, you know? I haven't watched much OG Bel Air, but I keep that video of Carlton as a sellout to feel better. Yeah. They spit a lot. The Fresh Prince, they spit a lot of facts, okay? Alright, let's get back into this.
Black faces aren't at the forefront or may not be the faces of, you know, nerdy fields changing. Just because black faces aren't at the forefront or may not be the faces of, you know, nerdy fields or endeavors, that does not mean that we are not out here making strides, because we definitely are. But our black faces shown in these endeavors are definitely not as commonplace as they should be. And we might not have as much exposure to it as a kid, quite frankly, as much as we do like rappers and entertainers and athletes and all those types of things. Also, blackness and competence in black culture is also seen as a status symbol. That's why you see how all these white kids from the suburbs and all these white kids on TikTok trying to be like us, act like us, because it's a status symbol. It makes you cool. It makes you trend. Trying to be black makes you trend.
I think insecurity is another reason some people within the black community perpetuate this like not black enough idea. In this world, you can get made fun of for possessing stereotypical traits of your identity group, and you can get made fun of for not possessing those traits. So taking this into the context of race, you can be made fun of for being too black, and you can also get made fun of for not being black enough. So not that it's right, because honestly this is just, you know, sharing more feelings of unworthiness, but putting someone else in a box could be a way that some black people can like process the feelings of not enoughness, if that makes sense. I don't know if I explained that very well, but I'm gonna share another clip from Madison Brown's video. Y'all should just go watch it because it's really good. So she explains this pretty well.
I think deep down it comes from a place of insecurity, maybe, because they know that who they are is seen as sometimes ghetto or uneducated simply because they're just being themselves. And because to them, I have some sort of adjacency to whiteness, that it fucks with their head, because maybe they think that because of the way that I am, then I will be more accepted by the white man.
And being seen as more palatable to white society has obvious social and professional benefits. And then finally, it can also be financial. So I actually really did like that perspective of what she said of like, this is kind of like my part where I'm breaking down like where blackness and nerdiness collide, and kind of like the idea of, it's kind of like the thought process of people who be like, oh, you sound so white, you're the whitest black person I've ever known, like kind of process like what is actually the root or the origin of that type of thinking. And I did think that was a very interesting perspective about, it might be like a form for some people of like projection, like who they are. And this is kind of goes back to that whole articulate conversation. I have a lot of opinions on that. Okay, I'm trying to think of how to say this. But if who you are in your most natural state, you say you get discriminated against because you're deemed like not articulate, or if you have like a black sounding name, it's even proven that people who have black sounding names don't even get callbacks nearly as much as white sounding names on resumes. So maybe people who don't have those experience, like because of like all these systemic reasons that have kept kind of, that have led to, I guess, the social and cultural reality for a lot of black people, like because those things exist, maybe seeing other black people have some sort of adjacency to whiteness, it could just be a form of them trying to process like, why do they get certain privileges that I don't, and it kind of comes out in a not great way, if that makes sense. So I'm not excusing people's behaviors of like why, like, because obviously blackness is not monolithic, as we've talked about. I'm not trying to excuse that behavior, but it was just an interesting perspective to think about from the perspective of like colonialism and racism has like messed up so much of our thinking that we're at a point where we're blaming like other people, other black people, as opposed to the structures, the systems, the governments that got us here in the first place, you know? Like, articulate is not a compliment. Just because you use slang or AAVE, that does not mean you are inarticulate. There's whole conversations. Like, of course, there are time and place for things, like, but there's a lot of, there's just a lot of things where it's like we have accepted, like, why is the whitest way to sound, quote unquote, the best way, if that makes, like, why is the way black people speak automatically considered inarticulate and unprofessional, and then everything else is the opposite, if that makes sense? Kind of like the idea of like black people hair. Like, so why is it that we search professional hairs and all of these are white people and black people not see as the standard? So I don't even know if any of this made sense. Maybe that was just kind of just word vomiting, but I don't know, just some things that came up.
Disparities. As I said earlier, poverty has disproportionately affected a lot of black communities in America specifically, but also in other countries.
I'll kind of elaborate
Science,
here.
Engineering and like STEM, more technical fields are expensive, and if you don't have the financial resources to send your kids to specific schools or to
So this
buy
is
certain
getting to the
equipment so that they can
systemic.
pursue this, it may seem like out of reach for some black kids. Again, that's
The
not to say it's not
systemic issues.
possible, but that definitely could be a factor. So all of these perceivably nerdy or white characteristics, all of these things is not how we have internally been conditioned to recognize the role that black people play in the world. And so due to this internalized contradiction between blackness and nerdiness, the term blurred was born. So why blurred? I think blurred.com explained this pretty eloquently. One of the writers writes, representation matters. Quite simply, blurs were not traditionally shown in the media and have had little representation in pop culture. Not only that, but when we combine the intersection of African American and nerd culture, sometimes we see or describe things a bit differently. Blurs tend to add their own bit of flavor into the mix when talking about all things nerdy. Calling yourself a blurred doesn't mean you want to separate from anything. It only means that you are telling the world that you want to still identify with the part of you that makes you black. And this is why we have things like BlurredCon and other communities for like nerd subcultures, such as the Black Girl Gamers, Black Girl Nerds, Sugar Gamer, I Need Diverse Gaming.
Another thing I can think of right now was DreamCon. I don't know if any of you guys have been to DreamCon, but that has exploded over the past few years. Kind of like a intersection. It's put on by RDC World in Texas. I forget if it's Austin, or I think they're coming to Houston or something this year, but kind of like this intersection of black culture, gaming oh, not my timer. It was kind of found on this idea of like black culture, gaming culture, anime, video games, all those types of things. I'm at work and you made 3 hours fast nothing. I'm so glad. Thank you for being here, Tim. Yeah, not we. No, we just y'all got me on the background. Y'all supposed to be working. That's why Asmara is the best. Oh, thank you. I'm back to uploading this month, so I will be I got content planned this month. RJ says, have you heard of Blacktober on X? I don't think so. What is that? Lucky I don't get that in Canada. Oh, DreamCon. But yeah, tell me what Blacktober is.
I will say the blurred identity is also pretty similar to the quirky awkward black girl or the quirky awkward black boy trope, if you're familiar with that, or even the idea of being called an Oreo, being black on the outside but white on the inside, in the fact that all of these different archetypes basically exist to categorize black people who may not feel like they fit into the mold or the stereotype of blackness. And if you are interested in learning more about these tropes, these videos up here are very good and worth the watch.
Which, by the way, Town of Tawiya, she is one of the guests that I had on Kwanzaa Unwrapped. It was very cool. The reason I thought of her for my series is because I do like the work that she does about like talking about underrepresented intersectional identities in the Black community. So she was on my video where we talked about, it's called Be the Change. And so we're talking about, I was also with Alasia Gray, who voices Diamond in Life is Strange Double Exposure. We talked about their careers. We talked about how they've come to who they are today, and kind of like how they give back to their communities through their content and their work, and in very much being the change that they seek. So, a little promo, might as well promo myself here, but it was very cool getting to talk to Daniela, yeah, Tanatawiya. She's a great video essay channel as well.
And of course, like all my other...
And also she's British, so she has some videos about like Black British experiences too, which is interesting always to learn about.
Sources, they'll be linked in the description below. If you don't normally look at my sources, I would really recommend watching them or taking a look at them for this video, because there's a lot of really interesting movies and shows and videos that I watch. So be sure to check that out. So as time progresses and as society progresses, more Black people are starting to embrace this idea that Blackness is not a monolithic experience, with terms like blurred or the quirky, awkward Black girl or Black boy. However, not all Black people are fond of this term, because it seems like another way to sort of categorize Black people further and put ourselves into more categories or groups, which is definitely an understandable perspective. But the difference is, terms like blurred or the quirky, awkward Black girl or Black boy was directly created by Black people to embrace the fact that the Black experience is diverse and multifaceted. It allows Black people to be whatever the hell they want to be. In the words of Donald Glover,
because whiteness is blankness. It's because they look at it as a blank slate. Like, when you come in, you can be anything. Like, when I walk in, even if I have...
Isn't it true? So, okay, sorry. I just, not to interrupt him, but isn't it true that he's retiring Childish Gambino? Did I hear about that correctly? He's just gonna go, like, he's just gonna be Donald Glover now. Blacktober is a bunch of Black fan artists sharing their fan art of famous cartoon characters from movies and shows, and even games, but redrawn in Blackness. Oh, that's very cool. That's very cool. So you said you found out about it on Twitter? And is it, like, online, or is it, like, an in-person, like, event? Very cool. Those spaces are definitely needed. But okay, back to this.
Is blankness. It's because they look at it as a blank slate. Like, when you come in, you can be anything. Like, when I walk in, even if I have a bow tie, they might be like, is he Muslim? They're not gonna do that with a white dude. Like, white people are a blank slate.
And because whiteness is seen as a blank slate, and white people are generally understood to be more nuanced and can be more complex coming into the world, that leaves more concrete boxes of what everybody else can be. And although our understanding of Blackness is definitely changing, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done both internally and in the media to expand our perspective and horizons of what Black people are and what Black people can be. And until we can exist in a society that sees Black, Indigenous people of color as complex, nuanced, and, you know, layered beings, until we exist in a world where Black culture is being more accepting of a diverse Black experience and Black people with different interests and different paths. And until this ideal time comes, terms like blurred and other archetypes will exist to include people who may not feel like they fit into the social norms of their culture. And so that's how blurred came to be. That's the video.
Wait, hold on. Let me
and until this ideal time comes, terms like blurred and other archetypes will exist to include people who may not feel like they fit into the social norms of their culture. And so that's how blurred came to be. That's the video. I'm off script now, but I essentially just wanted to make this video because I've always struggled with identity growing up. I think everybody struggles with that, but growing up specifically as a Black girl in a predominantly white upper middle class suburb, I've definitely been told my interests are white before. Even though I seem very like racial justice warrior now when I talk a lot about Blackness, and I seem very proud of my Blackness, it's definitely been a journey to get here. And so I really just
I don't know if y'all can see the sun was setting. Maybe I just noticed that. You can see, like, this is where it was starting to get, not dark, but...
I seem white before. Even though I
look
seem
the
very,
window
like,
over
racial
here.
justice warrior now, when I talk a lot about Blackness, and I seem very proud of my
There's
Blackness,
the window.
it's definitely been a journey to get here. And so I really just felt led to talk about identity and the Black experience, and
these are just things I
growing
noticed.
up Black in different communities. The world's gonna tell you that you're not Black enough for various reasons, and so I hope this can be an affirmation to any Black folk out there that you are enough, you were born enough, you are Black enough, and you are enough simply because you are. So yeah, you don't gotta prove nothing to nobody, keep doing you, and honestly showing up authentically is a revolutionary act. So my concluding thoughts, I actually have an audio recording that I think kind of sums it up pretty well, so I'm just gonna go ahead and play that. So I hope this video kind of helped you to better understand the nerd caricature, the nerd archetype,
Black culture and its vastness, and kind of where these two identities conflict. I never felt like I truly fit the nerd stereotype perfectly, but like I've definitely felt not Black enough because of things that I was interested in, and so that made me kind of not want to talk about my experiences or my interests in things that seem to be nerdy, even though I didn't necessarily consider myself a nerd, or also because the things that I didn't have knowledge in, the different Black things that I'm supposed to know about. Let's also Black people hold each other accountable when we see people projecting these harmful beliefs that the Black experience is monolithic, because the world already does this to us. Like, we need to really stop doing this to ourselves, and the world would honestly, we would be able to achieve more when we uplift each other and aren't belittling the worth of our own community. And so again, our enemy is white supremacy. It's not each other. And so
yes, white supremacy is
I just want to create a space where people can feel heard and seen and enough.
So comment below about your experience with nerdiness or blurtiness. I would love to engage in a civil conversation. What did you learn today? What do you want to take away? What have you learned about yourself? I would love to know. Leave a comment below. You hear them bars though. Honestly, my next project, just forget these video essays. I'm gonna drop a rap album. Mixtape coming this summer. Yeah, that's all, you guys. I'll see you next time. Bye, y'all.
This outro goes hard. No, don't follow me on Twitter. I don't be on there no more. Follow me on Instagram. Also, I have a new handle, so in description. Anyways, I like the way I edited to the beat there. Anyways, okay, so that was the video essay. Thank you guys for being here. Let me talk about some final thoughts. I'm not gonna just leave y'all right now. Maybe I think we'll go until 10. Okay. Okay, so RJ's talking about Blacktober. For instance, if you like Finn from Adventure Time and you are a Black artist, you'll see him or John in Black, and it's online. Okay, very cool. Very cool. I've never called Donald Glover anything other than Donald Glover. I hated his stage name and knew him from Tumblr days anyways. Okay, so he was OG, so you're like, I'm not here for the rebrand. Yes, he's retiring Childish Gambino. Yeah, I thought I saw that. I wonder if it's going to change, like on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever. I wonder if his name is going to change, if you have his song saved or in a playlist. Facts, being Black is a lifestyle and it's diverse. Yes. I think that's how I found your channel, Masterful Video Essay. Thank you very much. And Sentences loved it. Thank you. And thank you, JJ. Great presentation. So yeah, this video could talk kind of how it like came to be to begin with. Like, I literally started. Okay. There's a lot of things coming to me right now, but I think the first thing that stood out to me is I feel like this video, along with a few others around this time, like I would say like the You're Not a Real Gamer, and then really led into this video, because kind of like I said originally, I was originally trying to make a video about like where are the Black people in gaming, and why is it that we have to accept harassment and what's it called, like abuse, basically, being in the Black gaming space. And it evolved to this conversation in this whole discussion about like what it means to not feel Black enough more generally. Like, I felt like where we started and where we ended up being a lot more intersectional and being able to relate to a lot of different people that weren't just gamers. And that's literally the point of why I created this channel, is to show that gaming doesn't have to look a certain type of way, that I wanted to really challenge our stereotype of what this genre of content is for, also using topics like video games, or even like these more evergreen topics like we explored here, to talk about things like identity, belonging, and kind of just understanding yourself better. And this was, I feel like, this along with Not a Real Gamer, I think were the first few projects I did that helped me like understand and also become more confident in my identity and how I identify and who I am. And it's really special that I feel like I've been able to kind of help other people along that journey with those sort of projects. And this is kind of like what I want to return to. I'm not gonna get too much about the history of my channel and stuff and how it's changed over the years, but just, I don't know, the spirit of this essay is definitely the energy I'm going into 2025 with this channel. And so I thought it was appropriate, not only for Black History Month, but just for this year to revisit it. And it's coming up on 4 years. So I literally, like, when I was preparing this essay, I went back to my Google Doc history, because you can actually see when you've created documents, not just the last time you accessed it. So yes, I started this essay, or started writing the script, February 2021. And this has been one of the, like I said at the beginning, this has been the only other video on my channel that has had continued growth and viewership and success outside of sim stuff. And I've unlisted a lot of my sim stuff now, so they're not, you can still watch them if you want to in the playlist, but they're not public, or front facing on my channel anymore. But yeah, I think it is definitely special to feel like something like this project actually reflects more of like my values, and I think those skills, and it's been really cool seeing how other people have been able to relate to this project and how it's influenced other people. I don't know if I should go in the comments. Because this also has a lot of great comments too. Well, I didn't plan this ahead of time. Actually, should I? Hold on. I don't want to, like, hold on. Trying to think, like, y'all can't, like, the text is so small. What if I, hold on, minimize? Okay. Is that better? Can y'all see that? Oh, that looks better. Okay. Yeah, y'all can see that better. Okay. I'll make sure y'all can read. Okay, like some of the top comments. If Tupac hadn't been a good-looking rapper, he would have been a nerd. Everything he did was nerdy. He wasn't into science, but he was into Shakespeare, philosophers, classic style poetry, literature, and classical music, which is something I actually didn't know about. And so it's kind of cool to see people kind of, I guess, redefining, I guess, what not redefining, but like we can see that it is possible to still be Black and even be respected in the Black culture, and may not be the stereotype of Blackness. Like, it is possible to have both. The nuance is possible. Oh, well, this is another thing I forgot to mention. This person says, I'm Black and autistic, meaning I don't fit in with anyone, not even nerds. And you know what? I'm okay with that, because the truth is, it's better not to fit in and be happy than to fit in to lose your true self. And yes, this is actually I received a couple comments about the parallels of being nerdy qualities or traits with people that are on the spectrum, the autism spectrum. And that's not something I even thought of originally when I made this video, but it's very evident. Like, I see it more, like, more now, it's even more evident to me, and I can see how that's even like another layer. Is also, you know, the Black community's relationship with neurodivergence and lack of understanding with that. And I think that's important to acknowledge too. And even going back to my Town of Tawia, the interview I said I did with Town of Tawia, or Daniela, she talks about that in our interview that she did. She does a lot of work, not only just about other Black people, but she's autistic, and a lot of her work also revolves around the intersection of being Black and autistic, and how that exists, you know, as well. So, yeah, great comments. We as Black people need to tend to put down our nerds, not realizing they could help us advance as people and understand other races. Have done so. Too, we've suffered the worst as a many. So, okay, hold on. Okay, sorry. I need to start reading these before. I didn't plan to do this, so. I haven't seen all these comments. Also, hey, Cozy K. This is way before she was, like, Cozy K in the same way. Hey, Nart Villain. Gotta watch this one. That's cool that you can post trailers for premiere. Oh, he left this comment before the video. So yeah, anyways, I don't want to just go through. Let me read all these people. Bigging up myself. Oh, that's interesting. What I love about Family Matters is how Laura didn't like Steve as a nerd, but that's who she ended up being with at the end. Interesting. Again, I don't have the full context. Oh, somebody please leave me the list of the shows I need to watch. So A Different World, and what else do I need to watch? These comments are giving some interesting thoughts. Yeah, I haven't gone through these before, so I haven't looked at these comments in a while, so I'm like, oh, maybe I should read these before I start putting them up. Yeah, but anyways, I basically kind of showed this to show that this has definitely been a video that has resonated in a lot of different ways. It's also, how do I, hold on, let me just go back to me. Also think another thing that's interesting is in my analytics, this video, like half of the demographic, if not the majority, has been men, which I think is interesting. I don't know, like, do you think, like, I don't know how to say this, but like, is there a unique connotation of like nerdy black guys? Like, I don't know, like, is I'm trying to like, I think I've had to say it, but I'm interested in like why that demographic has resonated with this video specifically, you know, because a lot of people that watch this video were not existing subscribers. So it's interesting because I know the reason I say that is not because it's like men aren't welcome here, you know, but it's like typically my demographic leans more female. So I just did think that was interesting that this resonated with men too. So I don't know. Anything else in my notes? I think this also has some parallels also being biracial. I don't know if I have any mixed race people here, but I'm interested in how like biracial or mixed race people kind of resonate with this idea of not being black enough, because I feel like that is more blatant, of like that dichotomy is more blatant because you literally have a black parent and a white parent. But I also do think like what was interesting about this video is kind of exploring how that also relates to people even like myself, where I have two black parents. In fact, the lineage is black as far as the eye can see, and still experiencing the not black enough phenomenon as well. But feel free, if you're watching this back, if you are mixed race or just if you're any other intersecting identity, I'm always here to learn from you guys, hear your stories, hear experiences. And so yeah. All right, let me see what y'all are saying. I do think the latest generation being a blurred, it's not the same not negative as it once was. I think definitely, yeah. Yeah. Okay, living single. Okay. A different world and living single. Okay, thank y'all. Oh, I do have this one question. So we got a little bit of time. Y'all feel free to answer if you would like to. Hold on. Where'd my stuff go? Okay, let me put... Okay. Here is the I'm gonna put myself here. Here's the discussion question, but let me see. I'm guessing some black guys like me are the stereotypical masculine, angry black man, but I'm not like that. Oh, so that's why you think like maybe the stereotype, like the media stereotypes is kind of like maybe what resonated, why black men resonated with this one. I definitely think black women have more expressive freedom than black men, so I can see being black nerd being a topic that resonates with men. Okay. Yeah, I do. Yeah, that's kind of like going off of what Ray J was saying, like just the idea of like maybe like because not only black men like being black, but you also have that stereotype of like what it means to be like a masculine man, you know? If you don't fit into that, you could feel maybe isolated with that as well. So a topic like this would maybe appeal more. Yeah, I just always thought that was interesting just because this analytic, like my audience is typically more female, like more, and so I just thought it was interesting that this video in particular drives like the male to female demographic is like 50-50. If not a little bit more. And although there are women gamers, men still dominate video games, at least visibly. And non-gamers often think that it's weird that adults enjoy video games and think that it's for kids. I don't know why I'm reading both of your messages again. Okay, so yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, but here's my discussion question, and then we can like wrap up. But yeah, let me know. Do you identify with the term nerd or blurred? Why or why not? I know we've kind of touched a little bit about this throughout the essay, but feel free to answer. And then this is a bonus. Is there another term that resonates more? And I actually need to pee. Guys, I was doing so well with like my staying hydrated. I always say in these lives, like I discover how dehydrated I am when I go live because I'm like, I am out of breath constantly. But I finished my water bottle and I finished my juice. Okay. I'll be like showing off my work like a toddler. Like, guys. Anyways, mommy, I finished eating. All right, but I'm gonna go pee. Y'all type your answers and I will respond to them and we'll wrap up. All right. I am back. I probably should have left y'all with some music or something. All right, am I in the center? I feel like I'm all cut off and stuff. Okay, that's better. All right, Shem says, identify with the term nerd, blurred, geek, whatever, because I like all the things stereotypically associated with it. They are catch-all terms that help me not to have to list my many hobbies and likes. Nama says, In my case, I'm from Sudan and I live in the USA. So when I'm around Black Americans, they don't see me as Black. And when I'm around Arab, we aren't seen as Arab despite our culture and language similarity. Ooh, that is interesting. And that kind of speaks to kind of being of like the cultural expectations being different, I guess, in also different countries. Yeah, I think the first thing I'm thinking of is I remember when doing research about my Wakanda Forever video essay. And I remember just hearing this perspective about like, because I wanted to also focus on Black Latin people, and I'm getting somewhere with this. But a lot of the sentiments I hear them say is like when they're in the Americas, like people say that they're not Black enough because culturally, maybe that there are like more Puerto Rican or Mexican, even though phenotypically they are Black. But then when they're in their native country, they'll be like, oh, but you're not one of us, you Black, you know, which kind of, you know, ties into the colorism and stuff as well. But I don't know, that just kind of reminded me of that. There's definitely different cultural expectations too from countries. I was referring to the biracial question, by the way. Yeah. That makes sense. Thank you for sharing. I have some Sudanese ancestry. Okay, period. I'm curious what region of America you're in, if you don't mind sharing. I know it can be a diverse... I know it can't be a diverse place like NYC, though, lol. Basically saying that you definitely hit the nail on the head about the isolation feeling, because it really feels like you don't belong to a group. Okay, DMV, stand up, period. I'm from the DMV, too. I'm only saying that because even though I am born and raised in America, both my parents are immigrants, one from Jamaica and one from Antigua, and in NYC, different ethnicities are respected. Yes. New York City is definitely, you know, like a melting pot. I've definitely been treated not as not Black or different there, but definitely... Hold on. I have definitely been treated as not Black there, but definitely in Ohio, where I am now, some Black people think I'm not Black enough. Got it. Yeah, it's kind of like some things we were kind of talking about before, you know? Big up, my father is Jamaican. Okay, RJ. Not y'all all have these like similarities. So we had New York City natives in the house. Y'all got the Jamaican parents in the house. Y'all got the immigrants in the house. Y'all got a lot of stuff. I feel like there's some other thing. RJ says, I'm a blurred. I'm unapologetically Black and a nerd. I am a cartoon and history lover. Because of my nerdiness, many people I follow a lot of Black history. Yes, I follow a lot of Black history too. But yeah, I think that's kind of like the point of like why I made this video, is to kind of show that there is no wrong way to be Black, and to show up authentically as yourself. And I feel like I kind of answered this question at the end of the essay, which I was talking about. I don't think I strongly resonate with the nerd term. But I definitely identify with not feeling Black enough, or other people have said that plenty of times to me about like, oh, you sound white, you act white, you're whitewashed. I think maybe the reason I don't identify with the term nerd or blurred really heavily is because, I don't know, like I'm not into, although I do, like I like video games, I've never really been into like anime. I'm not saying there's anything wrong. Like, I'm not saying I'm against animation, anime, like fandom. I've never really been involved in that culture, which maybe I associate more heavily with nerdiness. And I think also another factor of the video game thing is because I think a lot of the games I like to play are more like, what's it called? Like casual games, quote unquote. I think that term didn't identify as heavily for me because maybe the types of games that I played. I don't know if that makes any sense. I'm just word vomiting here again, but now my Nightbot coming after me. But yeah, I guess to answer this question, I don't think I identify with the term nerd or blurred, but I also think kind of this idea of not being black enough has definitely resonated more with me. And if there's another term that I resonate more with, I think maybe I'm leaning more towards, I don't know, seeing myself as more holistic, of just like, this is just Asmara. I don't know, like I have different interests. I have interests that maybe that aren't nerdy. I like video games. What else do I like? I don't know. Now I'd be having a hard time like naming stuff off the spot, but I guess I'm trying to lean in towards just seeing them all as all the attributes as part of me. So yeah, thank you guys for answering the question. I think that's all I have. I am very proud of myself for making this video. I was just like thinking back, like if I made this video 4 years ago, I was 19, and I don't want to get more like super deep into like my life. It's not going to be a life update, but I think I'm really proud of myself for even at that age being able to do this research and to validate not only my own experience as a black person, but also have other people resonate and relate to that as well. So yeah, this is one of those videos that I'm still proud of, and I'm glad it's still getting, you know, shared and watched and commented on. And so yeah, this is a great conversation. Thank you all for being here. I guess a thing to end on, I can't play it because, you know, copyright. But I was saying this earlier too. The shirt that I was wearing in the video, so you can kind of see here. So this Black Joy is Magic shirt I was saying was based, this is actually merch from Belief in Fatherhood. He's a YouTube creator. He creates like family-based content, but he also, he produces his own music for the channel as well. A fantastic song of his is of the same name, Black Joy is Magic. I really wish I could just like go to the outro and just play the song, but YouTube's gonna be like, okay, no ads. They, you know, YouTube has interesting ways they figure out like what is not worthy of ads and what is. But yeah, everybody go pull up your Spotify or your YouTube search right now. And okay. And look up this song. Can y'all see that if yeah, I'll just put it full screen. Black Joy is Magic. The lyrics definitely resonate if you want something to end off on. And Belief is spelled B-E-L-E-A-F. So, I don't know, that just came to mind. Facts, and super proud of you too. Thank you, Shem Gem. Video is super incredible. I'm impressed with the research and the production. Thank you. Radio says I enjoyed it. Thank you guys, and thank you so much for joining me on this live. And for talking to me, hanging out with me, sharing your thoughts and your experiences. I definitely appreciate you guys being here and supporting me. And welcome, Ray J, to the channel. I know you said you are a new subscriber, so yes. Well, I will be back posting more consistently throughout the month of February. If all goes to plan, I should have a new video out every Saturday. So I was actually supposed to go live on the 1st, and then, which would have been a Saturday, but then I had to do something yesterday, so today I'm live on Sunday. But every other day this month, I have something new planned on Saturday. Oh, I guess also since y'all are here, I might as well just give y'all this update. I'll make I think a community post or something about this. But for those of you who are here who do enjoy The Sims, I'll be playing The Sims 4 Love Struck on Valentine's Day. So I'll make another post about that. but you can expect me live next on Valentine's Day. And also, if any of you guys want to submit, I had this idea, if any of you guys want to submit Sims for that Love Struck stream, whether it's not like Sims to populate my town or Sims that my Sim can date, I kind of thought about taking submissions if any of y'all want to submit Sims. So I don't know, be thinking about that and I'll figure out how I want to do that. But that's unrelated, but I figured I'd just say that here while y'all are here. Y'all will see me live next on Valentine's Day. I'm coming out of Sims retirement for one day. So we can engage in the tomfoolery. All right. Ray Day says, Asmara, thanks again. I'm going to go through all your past content. Awesome. It's great to have you here. And yeah, enjoy the content. But all right, I'm going to leave now. I gotta go to work tomorrow. But yeah, I will see you guys next time. Oh wait, Shemjem, what is the hashtag to submit Sims? Can you tag people in the gallery? Like, is it possible, like, I haven't played The Sims 4 in a while, I'm not even going for it, but is it possible to, at, like, my ID? What's it called? The gallery ID? My origin ID, or not origin ID, it's EA out. It's an EA app now. What hashtag would it be under? Okay, so hashtag. Should I do? I don't know. Like, I don't know if I should do Asmara. I don't know if that'll be like too generic. You know what? I don't want to say something and then change it later. I will make either a short or a community post. I'll make sure I do that this week. You can't but hashtags work. Okay, I will figure out a hashtag. I don't know. I'm gonna go in the gallery and check to make sure my ideas like aren't already populated. So I want to make sure that you actually have a hashtag that I will see. But yes, I want y'all. If you want to submit Sims, I think that'll be fun. Submit Sims for either my Sim to date or to populate the town. All right. But yes, I will see you guys next time. Have a great night and have a great rest of your week. Happy Black History Month also. All right, let me play this music. Why can't you hear the music? Oh, it's the song is over. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, the music's working now. All right, bye y'all. Thank you for being here.